Oh, coming up next on Who's Views, the Who-tastic panel review The Invasion from 1969, starring Patrick.
This is Cyber Chat on Who's Views.
Help! We're being invaded! Yes, the Silver Giants return on Who's Views. We're heading back to the invasion. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Who's Views. Yes, it's another one in our special Cyber Chat series. As you can see, Paul is with me with his Cyberman.
What's that? You want to have an invasion, do you? You like Sooty, you know? But...
Well, he's not busy, is he?
He's not busy, as you know.
No, he's not busy at all. And after this week, probably won't be busy for a few more years. We've also got Kirsty, lady of the chat here. We've got George and we've got Emilio. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Ooh. Here we are. Yes, we are here to talk about The Invasion, another one in our Cyber Chat series, our Cybermen celebration, because next year in 2026, as you all know, the Cybermen will be celebrating their 60th anniversary, and we're getting in there, like with everything else, a little bit early. And we're
Does that mean
starting
Cybermen get their bus passed then when that happens?
They do. Yes,
yeah,
they do.
Good,
as we saw the other week, they're all queuing up ready for them, aren't they?
So I yes.
It's nice to see you all. Thank you for joining us. Come into the chat, everybody. It's lovely to see you. Now, actually, before we start talking about the invasion and start our review in the invasion, we'd just like to actually just talk about the sad news that over the weekend that we lost the one and only. I can't quite believe I'm saying this, actually. Julian Holloway has passed away. Now, this is quite bizarre timing because we were only talking about Julian Holloway on our Friday show when we were reviewing Carry On Loving, which of course he starred in. As you can see that on the left-hand side, as you will all know, I am sure, he was also in Doctor Who, where he played Sergeant Patterson in Survival, the last story of proper Doctor Who back in 1989. So this was a bit of a shock, actually, guys, wasn't it? I mean, another great loss.
It's sad. After reviewing Carry On Loving, it was quite sad, and he was lovely in Survival too. Great actor.
He was funny.
Well, he notched up 8 carry-ons, starting with Follow That Camel, and his final one was England.
Let's not hold that against him.
No,
not. No. And he sort of got upgraded in Carry On Camping because the role he played was originally going to go to Jim Dale. But Jim was too busy with his National Theatre work at the time, so Julian Holloway took over the role.
Oh,
is he the character who's got the giant Irish wolfhound? Is that the character?
That's Carry On Behind.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
He's Jim Tanner, the coach driver. In Carry On Camping.
Yeah. And he has those lovely scenes with Kenneth Williams as well, doesn't he? Actually, it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you, everybody that's putting some memories in there and tributes in there to him. I never met him, actually. Did any of you guys?
I met him a couple of times on the Carry On side of things. He was absolutely lovely fella, and like as I've said before, every single person I've met who was there in any capacity for the Carry Ons had nothing but very fond memories, and obviously enjoyed recalling happy times. He, when he was talking about his Carry-Ons, there was a big grin on his face, and he just said, as so many people did, they were just such fun to do.
Oh yeah, a lot of you in the chat saying farewell to Mr. Holloway as well, as we are as well, and we just wanted to say, we just wanted to acknowledge the fact that Mr. Holloway has passed away. So we're losing so many of them at the moment. It really just seems that every week we've got somebody else that we're talking about, but. To Mr. Holloway's family and to his friends, God bless you. Lots of thoughts for you. All the best. And we'll always remember him. What a body of work. What fantastic stuff. And rest in peace, Mr. Holloway.
God bless him.
Yeah, he was part of, I suppose, what was the British entertainment industry. His dad was Stanley Holloway, the character actor,
Right.
and his daughter is Sophie Dahl.
Wow.
Yeah. There we go. Well, yes. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. Gosh, it does seem like we're losing so many of them at the moment, but it's lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Yes, this is a show that's going to take you all away from the madness of the last couple of hours. I don't know. We seem to go off the air on Sunday night talking about our usual stuff, and then it goes over the last couple of days. But tonight, we're talking about something complete. We're talking about proper Doctor Who tonight.
This is far more interesting, isn't it?
It's far more interesting. And for all the other stuff, you'll have to come back on Headlines on Sunday live at 8 o'clock. I don't know what we're going to say because we've been saying all that stuff they've been saying for the last year. Yeah. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, as you can see, as I said, Paul's with me, Kirsty's with me, George's with me, and Emilio is with me. We are here to talk about The Invasion. As usual, I want to say a huge thank you to Stephen Braddock for his latest piece of artwork for us.
Wow.
Lovely. Very nice.
Lovely bit of the classic image there as well. It takes me right back to the Target book bit, the Monster book, remember?
Oh, Monster book, yeah, lovely.
Yeah, it was there. So here we go then. Yes, we are heading straight back, everybody. Yes, to the 2nd of November to the 21st of December 1968 for Doctor Who, The Invasion, of course, starring the legend that is Patrick Troughton, written by Derek Sherwin, from a story by Kit Pedler. I couldn't get that in the ticker. It wouldn't let me. There were not enough character spaces. But it's important. From a story by Kit Pedler, written by Derek Sherwin. Script edited, of course, by Uncle Terry, everybody. It really was, as we all know. Produced by Peter Bryant and directed by Douglas Camfield.
Yay.
This is quite a team as well. And I think this is probably why this story, 8 episodes. 8 episodes. Can you ever just imagine 8 25-minute episodes over 8 weeks, Emilio and Kirsty? Can you just imagine that?
This is a real cracker. It really is.
Yeah.
This is
It's
the day.
episodes, but it doesn't. It paid perfectly, which is hard to do over 8 episodes. You'd expect one to lag, but yeah, very, very good.
Yeah, this is the days where you had to come back every week.
Yeah.
Whether you wanted to or not, to find out what was going on.
It's almost like 2 overlapping 4-part stories. The first 4 parts are like a Cold War espionage thriller, which sort of lays out a trail for what's coming up. And then 5 to 8, it's a full-on Cyberman story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have no idea at the start that the Cybermen are involved unless you have full knowledge of that. So it's been a lovely surprise when they turn up,
It's a brilliant surprise, though, isn't it? I love the fact that it is, as you're saying there, Joe, it is a totally different story when it starts. It is espionage. And because it's just called The Invasion, I love that because, again, thinking of the kids at the time, this must have been a massive shock to them all.
It's surprising it's not called Invasion of the Cybermen, to be fair. That's what normally we call it.
That was its original title, wasn't it?
Yeah. Or Return of the Cybermen, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was it Return or Invasion? And then they took Cybermen out to hold back the fact that they were reappearing.
Yeah. And only a certain set of kids would have known if they were lucky enough to be in London on a certain day back in 1968. Digby, thank you so much for your super chat here. Gotta love this story, an epic alien invasion with an espionage twist. See, he's agreeing with us there on that one. Lots of you are already saying hello to this. Julian is saying, I think Packer and Scorby must be the 2 most shouted names in Who history. Yeah, you're probably right.
One thing I did think was, Tobias Vaughan, this super cool, wouldn't be out of place as a Bond villain. Why is he putting up with the most incompetent henchman on the planet?
Within the Bond villains?
Yeah. But Peter Halliday plays it beautifully, though.
He does indeed, yeah.
They really are.
He does, doesn't he? You got to give him full credit for this, doesn't he? Because he gets everything absolutely and utterly wrong. John Roberts is saying, hi, everyone. I love a Cyberman story. That's just as well, because there's a lot of them to talk about, actually, over the next year. So make sure you've subscribed because we've got a lot to talk about. And Paul Stenterford is saying The Invasion, what a fantastic Cybermen story. It's one of the best. That's a great point, isn't it? Because I don't think, guys, I've met anyone in all my years of being around fandom, Doctor Who fandom, when this was actually available properly rather than those fuzzy things you saw occasionally at conventions. We all loved this immediately because it's a solid show, isn't it? These 8 episodes, it's very solid.
Well, talking of quality, I watched this twice before this review, right? And I watched it first on the iPlayer, and that is definitely like an old bootleg recording you might see at a convention. Yeah.
Now, you've said this before. The quality's why?
I don't know. Obviously, they've just gone to the nearest source they can get, and they want you to buy the DVD/Blu-ray, so they're not putting on decent quality. You know,
very strange.
They've not done that with everything, though. Strangely, they've got like special edition Day of the Daleks on there, and things like that. It's just
they will do because it's all their clan, isn't it? Too?
Yeah,
it's all there. Paul Stansford's pointing out the story was originally going to be called Return of the Cybermen. That reminds me of a song from the 90s. Can't sing it. Before the production team wanted to keep the Cybermen secret for this story. Yeah, and it works better, I think, for them being secret, just like Earthshot would do a couple of decades later. And Mark Milford saying the invasion is Doctor Who perfection. Whoa, that's saying something there, isn't it? Can I ask Kirsty and Emilio, how did you discover the invasion? Was it purely through this show?
Purely through a message from our love JT, who was like, we're doing invasion. So I was like, oh, watch it. And I did. That's how I found it.
There you go.
So no pressure there at all.
And what about you, Emilio?
I'm going to be truthful. I watched the invasion once I discovered John Pertwee. I didn't realise that the Brigadier was in prior stories in Patrick Troughton's years. So I went back, and this was one of the ones I watched. So. But then I rewatched it literally today, this morning. So great. It was good to kind of refresh the memory.
I didn't realise the Brigadier was in it. When he first appeared, I shouted something that rhymes with "get ducked" because I didn't know that he was in it, and that was a nice wee surprise.
Could you translate that for us?
That's a Scottish saying, everybody.
It is very much so.
Poor ducks. But yes,
that's a stroke of luck.
Cooking fat all over again. That's it.
I do love the fact that you two didn't realize the Brigadier was in this, because I think that's absolutely fantastic, because you would have lived through what the kids at the time lived through, which was when Lethbridge Stewart turns up. You guys have relived that. I think that's wonderful. I couldn't do that because I knew that Nick was in this, of course. Well, that's brilliant. PTA, Paul Thomas Ashworth, thank you so much for your super chat. It's the little pair, the little exercise pair. #1 fan. How lovely. So thank you for that. Hurrah! Yay! He's doing this. Yay! But thank you very much for your super chat there. But isn't that interesting, guys, that these two didn't know that Nick was in this?
I think it's one of the best things about it. I mean, Nick Courtney's superb in it, and I love the fact he's in the Web of Fear and this leading into season 7. It's so nice.
Yeah.
Well, the original drafts, it was going to tie in more with the Web of Fear because instead of Professor Watkins and Isabel, the original drafts were Travers and Anne, weren't they?
They were. Yeah.
And
they
got to change the new characters because they couldn't afford the royalty payments on so many returning characters.
And there was an issue with the writers as well, wasn't there? Because of the Dominators and all that.
Yeah.
So
It's something that lasts to this day, so I believe.
Apparently, yeah.
So it's well, there we go. But they have the right to do that, and these are
so
their
is
characters.
the Brigadier or Colonel Lethbridge Stewart? He was, and then the Brigadier, was he a creation of the BBC's then, rather than Haseman and Lincoln then?
No, it was Haseman and Lincoln. I think they got the agreement they reached with the BBC was apparently they got the life-changing sum of £5 each per episode that the Brigadier appeared in.
From then on, basically.
From then on, yes.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, they met Terry Nation. No, I'm kidding.
All at once, I see. Yeah, exactly.
I'm kidding. I do find this interesting, though, and I love this, Kirsten, Emilio, that you guys didn't know that Nick was in this, because I'd like to ask you, what did you think of the relationship he's got with this version of the Doctor? Because this is not what you're used to, because it does change, I believe, with Pertwee. So what was your guys' reaction with this? Because, with the first time you've seen it?
Well, the Doctor's rather respectful of the Brigadier. No jokes at his expense. I think the Brigadier taken more seriously as a character. And obviously, but obviously it suits, the character of Troughton Doctor compared to Pertwee. But it kind of it kind of just mutual respect. There's no kind of taking the mick. Yeah, exactly. The Doctor's obviously less of an authoritative figure. He's he's a bit more of a kind of bumbling, pretending to be a bumbling fool, but he's obviously very, very smart behind that. So I just think that the kind of personality of the Doctor, he just it's not in his nature to kind of argue back against the Brigadier. Kind of like, let's do this. We're on the same team. It's much more collaborative, I would say, than Pertwee Doctor. Well, you would agree.
You both were lucky enough to see the 3 Doctors as well, haven't you? So you've seen that relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But I mean, the other thing is, at this point, the Brigadier's met the Doctor before in the Web of Fear and knows him and knows he's an ally. And at that point, as far as he's concerned, this guy is the one and only Doctor. There isn't another one.
Yes.
So, by the time Spearhead and Space rolls around, he's looking, going, who is this imposter?
Yeah.
He's far more reserved with him.
Yeah.
Which I think was exactly the right way to go with it when that came about.
Mm.
Also, the Doctor's not stuck on Earth, right? So he's not thinking how to deal with all of these humans. So the kind of mentality or approach to dealing with the Brigadier is going to be different in this story than in Spearheads and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Would you agree with all that, Kirst?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I really enjoyed the partnership between just the scenes those two were together. It was very, you can notice a big difference, and you're totally right, Emilio, that he was acting like the bumbling fool, but actually is the smartest man in the room and is 2 steps ahead of you. And the Brigadier knows that, and it's the respect between those both. I really like those scenes together. And just casually when they're asking for cups of tea, and he's like, a cup of tea and that kind of biscuit as well.
And attached cake biscuits,
Oh, I think that's brilliant.
I love that bit as well. When he gets the walkie-talkie, I've got the T-Key 45. What is it, a tank? It's like, I love that kind of stuff as well,
Carwin is saying to us, guys, that this is the most competent and structured unit has ever looked. I get what you're saying there, Carwin. What do you think about that, guys?
To me, it certainly comes across as much more of a military outfit than it later became. They have proper military hardware.
They've got more soldiers as well.
Yeah, soldiers, which is always handy, I suppose. But
that's the Minister of Defence, of course.
It certainly comes across as much more of a military organisation than it did in future iterations. But I think the thing that I always bear in mind about this was in effect the pilot for season 7.
Oh yeah, which is what Ark in Space is saying there. It's an excellent story, and it's a story that could be put in season 7, very obviously.
And this is why we never got a Cyberman story in the Pertwee era, because we've already done it,
and
the fact terms hated the Cybermen as well, obviously. But,
there must have been some big unit budget cuts between this story and
We've got lots of people joining us in the chat. It's great to see you all. Noodle Arms is saying it's a great story, and the return of Colonel Lethbridge. Brigadier, I've gone up in the world. It's one of the top 5 Cybermen stories, I'd say. It's certainly a story that treats the Cybermen with respect and makes them frightening, I think.
And also, I don't mind that they play second fiddle to Tobias Vaughan because Kevin Stoney's so good. They work well together, I think.
Just one. Go on, Kirsty.
Go
ahead.
Thank you. The one thing I would say though is I like that they play second fiddle. I personally don't think we needed 8 episodes. I think this could have been done in 6.
Well, originally it was a 6-parter that got expanded because of script problems throughout the season. Yes. And I have to say, I agree with you. I think this would have made an absolute showstopper of a 6-parter. I don't think it outstays its welcome at 8. No. But I think if it stayed as original 6 episodes and maybe cut down the espionage half of the story, which I think where the additional material went in, it would have been an absolute belter.
Only thing I say about that, we get less time with Kevin Stoney, which would be a shame, I have to say, because he is suave, cool, sinister, all the same thing. It's wonderful. It is.
Nathan Adler and Inc. is saying to us best of Troughton moments when unit turn up, he gets out the cards, and then the look he gives after the smile. And when Isabel starts to photograph him near the end and he starts adjusting his tie. Carmen Morris is then saying, Cyberman does whatever a cyber can. Can he swing from a web? No. Thank you for that.
Oh, so when Troughton gets shot on the Bahuki at the end,
Yes.
it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
I mean, Patrick Troughton is so on point throughout the whole story. I mean, he is just the Doctor. He just nails it perfectly. Another one for me is the episode 4 cliffhanger with the Cyberman reveal as it busts out of its cocoon and you see the redesign for the first time properly. And then you cut to the shot, you know, of Troughton's reaction, and his facial expression as he looks at this Cyberman just sells their menace as much as the actual physical Cyberman itself.
Absolutely.
You know, he is so on point with it.
The idea of playing the Doctor slightly scared of the monster works so well. It really does.
Well, doesn't it? It really does, especially when it's the Cyberman who is.
Yeah.
This is their 5th outing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the 5th outing.
Yeah.
So he knows how dangerous these things are now.
Yeah.
And there should be an element of being scared, but here they are now on modern day Earth as well.
Yeah.
So this is another element where, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Dean's saying to us, it's the best Cyberman design ever.
Oh, it's one of my favourites, definitely.
I think it is, for those of us of a certain vintage, I think it is the definitive Cyberman design. I think
it's less is more. It's quite sleek as well, which is nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think back in the day, because you know this design was used on everything. You know, it was on the cover of all the Cybermen Target books, apart from the 10th Planet. Even though this design didn't feature in those stories, you know, it was on the side of hundreds of thousands of Weetabix packets.
Yeah.
It was absolutely everywhere. And this was the very definition of what a Cyberman should look like. And I do think it's a fantastic design.
It's truly iconic, this design of Cyberman, isn't it? I mean, we grew up with this, and my one and only Cyberman story as a boy was, of course, Revenge of the Cybermen, which is very much based on this.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm right in saying that some elements of the invasion costumes were recycled for the Revenge of the Cybermen costumes.
Yeah.
I think
they're the same helmets with different tubing.
Yeah, they were carved up a bit, weren't they?
Yeah.
They actually, for once, sort of looked after things.
Yes.
But the other aspect about this is that they are very scary. There's one image that I love from the Cybermen. It's this one.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Just
That's great.
thinking maybe Packer, and then there's a Cyberman. It's lovely. Yeah, nice.
It's just amazing, isn't it? And it just brings home. I mean, how doesn't it look brilliant? Now that is a Doctor Who monster. That is a proper Cyberman. Look at that! Isn't it absolutely gorgeous?
Yeah,
Really
I do
is.
think this design is an improvement on the previous Moon-based Tomb version and the redesign for the wheel in space. I really think this takes it up quite a few notches.
Yeah.
Lots of you in the chat. Thank you, everybody. We've got Dalek Eye saying so many iconic shots from this series too. We'll come to that actually during the show, because we grew up with these wonderful pictures from there. Stephen Braddock saying to us, IE in London was King's Reach Tower, famous later for Tharg's 2000 AD comic headquarters and famous for all the IPC comics and magazines. Yeah.
What you just said, JT, about all the wonderful photographs like that were appeared in the Doctor Who monster book of the Cybermen on the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral and all that sort of thing, which, and I'm sure Paul and JT, you're exactly the same, you knew long before you saw the episodes.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah.
They were ingrained.
One of the really great things about the invasion, unlike, say, the Dalek invasion Earth for comparison, is the actual location footage that appears in the finished episodes lives up to those photos. You know,
kudos to Douglas Canfield. Shot.
Oh,
really
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, because this was one of the stories which had myths around it, guys, because it was not seen for years. It wasn't available for years. We knew there were episodes missing from it. You know, it was a case of when I was certainly growing up in fandom, I was thinking I'll never get to see the invasion because we didn't see it. You know, even when the VHSs came around, I thought it's not complete. They're not going to put it out. I was wondering, you know, when you did eventually see it on a very grainy, primitive system at a Doctor Who convention, the sound a little bit wobbly, it didn't matter because the action just drew you in. The drama drew you in. The story drew you in. The direction drew you in. It was just absolutely fantastic. And as Carwin's saying, the production of Invasion feels really big scale. And that really comes through, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, amazing. So because all the studio sequences were done at Lime Grove, the most primitive studio that the BBC had, which, you know, then was way out of date and was only really used for somebody sat behind a desk reading an auto cue directly to camera. And yet this fantastic piece of drama was produced there. And the whole production team, Douglas Camfield, everybody really knew how to make the most from least.
This is a question for GT and George. You probably remember getting the making of Doctor Who in the 70s, and then the photographs in the centre, that fantastic shot of them getting the Cybermen ready for filming. That always, I loved all those.
There's a whole range of photos taken while the actors who play the Cybermen were getting helped into their costumes and all the rest of it, and they're fantastic still.
And we've got some of them here, so stay with us because we'll show some of them before. But these were because we were so lucky to have all these photographs, Emilio and Kirsty. This is why the Invasion just seemed to be epic as kids, because of course we weren't going to get to see it. But here were these big silver creatures around London. And it just looked so exciting back then, you know, as a 6-7-year-old, you're like, wow. And then when you're a teenager and you're told, but there's no episodes, you're like, oh. But, you know, thankfully, we got a version of it. We've still got some beautiful episodes. I mean, it does look fantastic, isn't it? What's John saying to us? John Roberts, I always thought UNIT were great in this story, but in New Who, they're pretty useless. Well, show me something that isn't made. Oh, I'm sorry, controversial. Dalek Lives Matter. Vaughn is one of the best villains I've ever seen. Mark Milford, Vaughn, showing he views Packer as disposable, much like how the Cybermen view him. Yeah, I love that as part of the script because there are parallels, aren't there? It's a big cat and mouse game, and they're all against each other. It's just they're all the cats. And Ark in Space saying Tobias Vaughn, possibly my favorite humanoid villain. Find them, Packer, find them.
The scenes between Kevin Stoney and Troughton are electric. They're brilliant. And one of my favorite bits is I think it was episode 7. I think it's when the Doctor says, "And we've got the Professor." He's really happy, really pleased with himself. It's really nice.
Michael, I am Michael Q. I will not be surprised if Packer turned into the cyber leader.
Well, Packer, I feel for his blood pressure because he's always in the panic day. I don't think him being a Cyberman would, let's say. I was actually I was like relieved when I remember that he died. I was just like, you know what, his blood pressure must have been like 120 the whole episode. Like, you know,
he comes back in Carnival of Monsters, Emilio. So look out for his performance in that. He's superb.
He does come back.
Yes, and City of Death.
And
Remembrance as well. Lovely actor, Peter Halliday, super.
He's a very famous actor in he was in a lot of proper Doctor Who, and he kept coming. But he was a reliable actor apparently, so he was in quite a lot of the cult television of the time. You can see him in a lot of things, and it's lovely when he crops up in this day and age as well. Like with all of them.
And he comes back in Ambassador of Death and repeats the voice for the cyber controller for the ambassadors, doesn't he?
He does. What's this from Craig? Hello, Craig Dunlop. I love the deranged Cyberman staggering about the sewers. It really creeped me out at the time.
The whole thing of sending the Cybermen doolally with emotions is really such a great plot device.
Oh, it really is.
Yes. These things actually have an Achilles heel. They can't. Not only have they deprogrammed and got rid of emotion, they just can't cope with it. And that is really a great plot device.
And the sound the Cyberman makes as well, like he's screaming as he's coming along the sewer corridor. Then the cliffhanger is going to get Jamie, Zoe, and Isabel. That's horrible. Great cliffhanger.
It's a brilliant cliffhanger.
Yeah,
it really is. And the fact that they are just stuck down there, and this thing's on the way. I love that. And those sets as well. The BBC always showed how good they were with doing things like that, didn't they?
They must have thought when they did this that the underground worked so well. Let's do it in the sewers because that's nice and dark and scary. Super.
Yeah, absolutely. I also love. Sorry, Joseph, because I love the fan theories talking about the sewers as well. that they were that there were still some Cybermen left down there, and they're the Cybermen that are around in Attack of the Cybermen. They just modernized themselves. I quite like that fan theory, but it would have worked better for me had they been the Invasion Cybermen and Attack of the Cybermen, if you were going to make that one up.
Yeah, I felt the same with Attack of the Cybermen. Why they didn't have the Tomb of the Cybermen logos on the tombs? That annoyed me as well. But
that's us being fans there. Well, Jason Parker thinks Cyberman design is this story is wonderful. It's polished and stunning. Scary too, a real improvement. And hello to Aaron Sutherland. The Invasion shows that being iconic does not need a huge budget. The filmography was amazing, using existing London set pieces and great camera angles, providing menace, scale, and mood. It just everything about this works so well, and I think it is down to the director. Let's face it. I mean, this is setting the standard, isn't it, for what's to come?
And another thing is, I think I'm right in saying there were 6 Cybermen costumes made for this, but the way Douglas Camfield edited it together and the camera shots he used, you get the real impression there's more than that. He's really skillful. It's not the usual thing. Oh, he's just ran off one side of the camera, ran around the back of it, and come back on the other side. The way it's.
I love that though. You should do that today, I think.
The way it's cut and edited together, you get a real impression. There's a whole platoon of them.
Yeah, but it's so well done, that whole scene. You do feel actually there's more than 4. Yeah, and this is an invasion, and the music helps as well. Dalek Lives Matter saying even without the Cybermen, it would have been a great technology-based horror. I do think so. And talking about that, Rob Alexander is saying we must mention the excellent and very singular soundtrack by Don Harper. Well, I'm glad you said that, actually, Rob, because we do have to do that, because it's actually very un-Doctor Who-like, but it's brilliant. And I found you a picture of him. Here he is.
Yes.
Oh, I loved it.
Nice.
It wouldn't be out of place in a Cold War thriller like a Harry Palmer film or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about the unit themes a bit odd.
Hang on, I've got 2 talking at the same time. Paul, go first.
I was going to say the unit theme is a little bit odd.
It's
like the John T. Unit theme. Yeah,
I love it.
I do like it, but it's very different from the underlying espionage soundtrack, which is a shame because it kind of doesn't gel as much for me. But I do like it though.
Oh, I love it. I think it gives that reassurance eventually. I love all that sort of worry stuff. Amelia, what were we going to say?
I could just say compliment the kind of atmosphere, the story really well, and that's what good soundtrack music does. It doesn't take you away from what you're watching. It adds to the story, and that's it does a really good job. It's underplayed. It's not over the top, but it works.
And complementing that even more, again, the soundscape the Radiophonic Workshop created, was it Brian Hodgson who did this one? Or as you said before, all the cyber noise of them screaming because they can't cope with the emotions, noise, the cyber controller, everything that they put on the soundtrack enhances it and again takes it up a notch.
Especially the cyber invasion sound. That is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Of course, the invasion was released on CD and vinyl. I did check before this show to see if you could still get them. Alas, you can't. So let's hope there's a re-release on that and a renaissance, because it's a great score. If you've got the vinyl, by the way, make sure it's kept on nice condition. That's what I'm saying to you on that one. A lot of money. But I love this score, and it's not typical for Doctor Who, because it was him doing it. It wasn't.
It was Don Harper's only Doctor Who score, wasn't it?
It was his only Doctor Who, and
it wasn't Dudley. That's the thing,
It's a shame, though, really, because it is very 60s action movie, as you guys are saying there. I love it. I absolutely think it's brilliant.
Though apparently it was Dudley Simpson who knew Don Harper, who recommended him to the BBC to help get him work.
A lot of you in the chat. Great to see you all. Come and have a breather from the madness that's going on this week. Come and have a chat. Come and talk about the invasion with all of us. If you're watching this and you're not in the chat, please come into the chat, because we'd love to hear from you as well. I'll try and keep up with you. It is a sign, says Mudcrab, of how good practical effects are. 6 Cybermen filmed well, looks like a horde. Thousands of CGI Daleks, looks like copy and paste. I totally agree. It looks really fake. We've seen that now several times, haven't we?
I blame George Lucas myself, anyway. But
Totally. But in all these things, I mean, this is one of the other things I loved about the invasion, as George was saying there. It's so well cut, edited. It's so well shot. it works beautifully. So you do think, wow, there's a lot of them here.
Again,
Whereas if I compare it to some of the modern day Dalek or Cybermen stories, where it literally is mudcrab, copy and paste there and there and there and there. It doesn't look right.
but
this
again,
is this is a gripping story. It really is. It really draws you in.
Yeah.
And there's a lovely kind of different level of humour as well. Troughton and Fraser Hines together are brilliant, absolutely brilliant pairing. All that business with the disposable radio is hilarious. And Jamie's listening to it, and the doctor says, "This is how you turn it off, Jamie." And then he's got the walkie-talkie, and he says, "It doesn't play tunes like mine," and things like that. It's wonderful stuff. Really nice.
Yeah.
So I do think, and this is absolutely no reflection on Wendy Patbury, I think Zoe is underwritten and underdeveloped in this story.
Yeah.
And Isabel comes across as a stronger, more interesting character than Zoe does.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Travis's daughter in Web of Fear. She kind of takes prominence over the companions, doesn't she, in that as well? So similar kind of idea.
I know Wendy Patbury had a week off during the shooting of the invasion. She disappears for an episode, but
she's on holiday, wasn't she?
Yeah. Taking
like Jamie and his sole leg.
To your point, George, in very brief moments, I think they wrote her really well. The scene where she's basically feeding back to the computer. And then towards the end, where she basically calculates the how to basically blow up the Cybermen invasion fleet coming. So I think if you're looking at like 90% of the story, I would completely agree with you. She's kind of underserved, but they at least gave her those moments. That I found was quite interesting when I was watching it.
Yeah, I completely agree. There are moments where she comes to the fore, but across the board, she does seem to play second fiddle to Isabel.
Yeah. I think Isabel's one character too many, to be honest. They probably didn't need her really, but
yeah.
Well, I'd agree with that, because all through this, I'm thinking this is Zoe's role.
Yeah.
This is taking up the role of the companion here. So I'm not quite sure, and I think that's why, George, it may have harmed Zoe, the character here for Wendy, because yes, she is on the side. It seems to go the Dr. Jamie, the Brig, a couple of the unit guys, and then the girls, and it just seems a bit.
Were they trying to make some sort of like? You kind of got the vibe that her and the sergeant, were obviously flirty and getting on.
A Dolly Soldier.
They tend to do that in these stories, isn't it? In Inferno, you've got the kind of love. They like to try and bring in like a love or potential love relationship, outside of the main cast into it. And I think maybe they were trying to add something slightly different, and probably why she's in it. That would be my thinking. Why they added, why they put her in.
I've never thought of that, Emilio. It's a very good point. It's a good point. Maybe also when they sort of realised that it was going to be extended from 6 to the 8 episodes rather. Extra characters were needed, or maybe they just wanted a pal for Zoe and then forgot about them.
Or I wonder if Derek Sherwin, consciously, unconsciously, was testing the water for a potential future companion.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, it was in their heads at this particular point, wasn't it? They knew what they had to do here. Hence the invasion, basically. So that could be a point as well. I wish they were still alive so we could ask them on the show and ask them. God, look, we were all too young, weren't we? Too young for things like that. But that's
you said before, Anne Travers is very much like a prototype Liz Shaw, isn't she, as well? So you can see that progression, can't you?
Yeah. And it's nothing against this lady as well. This is, of course, Sally Faulkner, who plays the character. She does it well, and she fits in brilliantly. She's lovely. I mean, it's another one of those possible what if she climbed aboard the TARDIS.
Yeah, I mean, she's a great one-story companion.
Yeah, which happens in Modern Who every now and then as well, as we've just seen recently. But she really isn't. I like the feeling that she did go off with that fella in unit, actually, because we never see him again.
I do agree with Paul's point. It is almost like if you combine her and the professor together, you basically got Liz Shaw, because she is very skeptical about what's going on, and then obviously towards the end she's less skeptical about Cybermen and everything. But then you look at the professor, obviously, in terms of what he does, the scientific kind of work that he's doing. It is, if you merge the two characters together, you have got Liz Shaw.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. I see Emilio's on full throttle this evening, everybody. He's been paying attention.
He's showing his fan credentials beautifully, I think. I
think it's wonderful. From a story broadcast in 1968 as well. He's seen a little bit more than I have done over the last few years. Tell you about watching this. What we got here from Noodle Arms. It's great to see you all. Didn't this design of the Cyberman get used in a cameo in Dalek season 1? Or is my memory wrong? As I need to rewatch Dalek.
No, that's the revenge head that was in the glass case. Not
in the
this
glass
one.
case. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But it's more or less the same thing, just tubes.
Kind of,
yeah. But there you go. Noodle Arms. Paul's answered that one for you as well.
Although the invasion head did turn up in the one with Missy, with Peter Capaldi. I think Kate Stewart had a head and threw it on the ground and showed this destroyed invasion cyber head.
Oh, you've got a good memory because I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Wasn't very good.
Fancy throwing that on the floor. It's worth a bloody fortune.
Yeah.
Dalek Lives Matter saying the soundtrack is amazing as Jamie and the Doctor first see the strongmen carrying the metal casket. It fits perfectly, so atmospheric and timeless. Here, Dalek Lives Matter. I love the way you've said that because that's absolutely what it is. I mean, the brilliant thing about this is, and I don't know what you guys think in the chat is, I loved the invasion, but I was always wary of the fact it was 8 episodes. So when that video came out all those years ago and we had those bits of narration in it.
Let's watch.
Yes. Doctor and Jamie escape. Here's episode 3.
That's what he did. He would always go,
yeah.
That's what he did at the time. We were taught that when we were presenting as well. Always have to watch the monitor. That was never there, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so
funny. You never do a cut with eyes on camera. That was always the golden rule.
Yes. But that whole thing about, I think because we got that video, I think it worried me a little bit about, oh gosh, because 6 episodes was always too long for me. Never mind an 8-part one. But I have to say, I've always sailed through this story because I become engaged with the story. I love the characters. I love the fact that Vaughn is out to get everyone, including the Cybermen. I love the reveal of the Cybermen. We've already had somebody in the chat. Who was it in the chat that said the Cyber Planner? Yes, the Cyber Planner. That was not giving the game away at all for any of the kids that were watching. It was good.
The Cyber Planner was a nice clue if you were a regular Doctor Who viewer at the time because it previously appeared in the Wheel in Space.
Is it the same thing?
I don't know if it's the same prop, but pretty much the same thing.
Does it get name reference before the Cybermen appear? I don't think it does it?
I don't think it does.
No, I think it's called the Planner, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's no,
I think
there's
Planner.
no overt mention of cyber anything at this point, is there?
But regular viewers would have sat there and go, "Oh, that looks familiar."
Yeah.
Oh, I hope so. I love the feeling of
sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah.
This is the problem that we've got because some of us weren't able to see the Wheel in Space back then. So coming to it, like Emilio and Kirsty are doing, we're coming to this fresh. I love the fact there's generations of people coming to these things fresh all the time, because a lot of the stuff isn't there, or is it? But it's not able to be. We can't access it. But for me, because this story is just so well done in every concept, it's engaging, and look at this, it stands up today, 2025. You can watch it right now, and it's another one of those stories like the ones from season 7 that I was saying about. You could put this on now, and I reckon people would watch this quite happily, not as a wanna, but say one every night or something. I think people would come and get engaged because story is key. And it's all in there from the story on. It's just beautiful British telly.
And I think in this case, the animation that's been done really helps that as well. I think.
Though the animation of episode 1, Zoe's wearing the wrong costume.
Yeah. We can forgive that. But, she's not wearing the spangly cat suit from Mindrome, is she? So,
yeah, she should be in a spangly cat suit.
Yeah.
We've got Mark. Bless. We've got Mark Milford saying to us, John Levine, known for playing Sergeant Bennett, was initially cast as a Cyberman. However, he assumed the role of Corporal Benton when the original actor was unavailable.
I think allegedly the original actor was fired for being late, apparently, but I don't know if that's true.
Was it because he was late?
Apparently, Douglas Camfield got really hacked off that he kept being late for rehearsals. I think that's
you wouldn't be late. You wouldn't be late for Douglas Camfield by all accounts.
That's how I think John Levine got the part, but we'll find out more when season 7 comes out, hopefully. So.
Oh well, hopefully, yeah. Love the way Jamie takes Packer's front seat in the Rolls Royce, says Stephen Bradley. Yeah,
and he does that lovely smug folding his arms. That's lovely. Yeah.
That's just typical Fraser Hines. I
Yeah.
bet that wasn't rehearsed. I bet that was because he knew Jamie, and that's something that Jamie would do. Go, nah, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. And Doc Martin is saying to us, the Cybermen being revived and ripping through their cocoons were great shots.
That's an iconic moment as they rip out the cocoons. That is so well done.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It is an iconic moment. It's one of those moments that a generation of kids grew up on. That was Doctor Who. You know, that was just like years later, if they were watching '89, the Dalek flying, just like Kirsty and Emilio in the new series will have moments which are pure Doctor Who. That's the moment, isn't it? And I seem to remember an awful lot of older people around me always telling me about the Cybermen bursting through their cocoons. And I thought that was the Tomb of the Cybermen, but no, it's the invasion.
But the other thing that I think they do it better in the invasion than Tomb of the Cybermen, whereas Tomb of the Cybermen, you know, they're basically just ripping a bit of cling film. With this, the cocoon actually has some sort of substance.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like it's a cyber design.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes in Tomb they have trouble getting the cling film open.
And we still have that problem to this day. I mean, have you tried it?
You try unwrapping cling film off the roll. That's really hard.
I know. When you get something from a sandwich shop or something, you're there for an hour. Come on! It's absolutely ridiculous. I prefer the more claustrophobic edge in Doctor Who, i.e. caves, sewers, underground stations, etc. It makes it more creepy and scary, says Dalek Eye. Totally agree. And they proved it with the Yeti in the underground, another iconic one. Here they are now with the Cybermen in the sewers. They were ready for season 7, weren't they now?
Great atmosphere the story has, really. Yeah.
It really is brilliant, isn't it? And Derek Hart, good evening, everyone. Invasion had atmosphere when Cybermen had strength and power without challenging down to gold. Yeah, I mean, the Cybermen just brilliant. And I like this from Mark. When Isabel climbs a rope ladder to a helicopter, her skirt repeatedly blew up, causing disruptions, I'm sure. To prevent a similar issue with his kilt, Fraser Hines had lead weights sewn into the hem. Phew!
I watched the documentary on the DVD about this, and apparently Sally Faulkner said that I think the director, Douglas Camfield, said, don't worry, it's one for the dads. It's fine.
Yes. But also... Douglas Camfield got the cameraman to adjust the aperture on the camera, so it lost some of the detail. So to preserve the actor's dignity. So when you see the shot, what you see is an inky blackness with no detail, and it's because the aperture of the camera has been taken right down.
Well, I just say few. We've seen enough of Fraser's. Anyway, thank you, Fraser, for that one. Because can you imagine that would never have gone on television at all? Oh dear, Doc Martin. I think it's great that Kevin Stoney can play Mavic Chen over 12 episodes, and 2 years later, Tobias Vaughan over 8 episodes, and managed to be totally different.
But that's the magic of acting back then, and classic, that you could do multiple roles and do different varieties of how you're going to play it. But nowadays, you're just one factor crying all the time, and there's total shift to any performance.
And totally, even though it's the least of his 3 Doctor Who performances, he's still terrific. Despite being behind a solid mask in Revenge of the Cybermen as well, you know, he really creates a full believable character there too.
Oh, that's a spoiler.
He was a very busy actor. I mean, he's in The Prisoner and Tomorrow People, lots of different things. He's a lovely actor, doesn't he?
He was. Yeah, I would absolutely love more of the Dalek Master Plan to be found, because I think watching the 3 episodes and listening to the soundtrack, you know, Kevin Stoney starting off at the beginning of the story as this duplicitous politician out to rule the galaxy, but you know, by the end of the story, just becoming a complete Looney Tune. The journey he went through across the 12 episodes must have been fantastic.
The line that cracks me up in that story, I know what talking about Master Plan, but I have to mention this, is when they're talking about the Terranium and where it was mined, and he's got this wonderful line. He was really straight. He said, "It came from Uranus." And he was honestly, it's wonderful.
He was a great actor. We're going to be talking about him some more, obviously. You're all talking about him in the chat, so we are going to talk about him some more. The Cat's on Holiday was giving Kirsty a little heart there. So the Cat's on Holiday. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. And Digby Strawbridge, I love the scene where Zoe in the missile command center, where she turns a few heads. This would never be allowed today and feels rather light-hearted in such a tense situation. Now, I think we must have all...
Casual sexism, I think it's called.
Yes, can't we keep her, sir? She's much prettier than a computer.
Yeah, but it's also that little bit where she is, where Digby's saying she's on the platform in that little suit, and the fellas are.
Yeah, they're eyeing her up. Look at that bum, aren't they?
Yes.
Well, we can't judge things by today's standards.
Yes.
But even I look at that.
Yeah.
What do they do?
All those technicians sitting there
Isabel
going,
gets shot
well,
as well from the Brigadier. You know, you're just a young woman. You know, it's like, you can't do this. New man and all that stuff. Wonderful. Yeah.
Or all those technicians sitting there going, okay, we're potentially seconds away from Armageddon, but lovely bum love.
What you need is that orchestra from Carry On films in there, don't you? Kind of coming on.
But what were the? Did the kids notice this back then? I just didn't think you can't do that in a kids show. Well, it's not a kids show, in a family show. I was thinking these fellas are taking the part a little bit seriously here.
Obviously, those soldiers saw the cliffhanger to part 1 of Mind Robber as well. Probably.
Listen, we have to remember that these fellas would have done their national service. They knew these roles very well. You know, honestly. Yeah. Craig, hello, Craig. The Cyber Planner looks like it could make a mean cup of coffee. I think you can get one now at your nearest electrical shop if there's any left, to tell you. Can I go in and have a Cyber Planner? Yes, sir. Red or silver? You know, great stuff.
And I'll do the hoovering as well. Yeah.
We are at that stage. And hello and welcome to Who's Views to Gordon Webster. Not seen you before, so hello, Gordon. How are you? The Radio Times blew it by revealing it was the Cybermen. Did they? I never knew that.
Likewise, I think they did with Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I think they shot a pterodactyl in a drawing, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also the 10th anniversary magazine blew the cover on the dinosaurs as well.
Yes,
that was published before the season started.
That's really interesting, Gordon, though, because back then the Radio Times was read by practically every household in the country. Gordon, was there a picture in there then, or how did they do that? Did they just mention it was the return of that? I mean, how did they do that? Please let me know.
They used to do illustrations, I think, next, like they did for the Frank Bellamy stuff in the 70s, similar to that, and maybe a Cyberman with that.
Well, let us know, Gordon. But it's lovely to see you. If you are new to the channel, by the way, welcome, welcome, welcome. You're most welcome. Please do subscribe to the channel. Give us a like as well. Give us a thumbs up, and come into the chat and talk to us. This is part of our new series, Cyber Chat, where we're going to be looking at the Cybermen, because next year, 2026, is their 60th anniversary. So we're getting ahead of the game. We've started talking about it this year. This is the first part of our series. We've got some more coming up throughout this year. And then next year, we've got our biggies as we get really into looking at them, because I don't think there's anything on television for them. Ooh, controversial. 60s and 70s, who will be regarded as part of the heyday of British television, says John Mason. It already is. As I've said before, if you are studying television in this day and age, in any matter, whether it be the acting, whether it be script editing, whether it be writing, whether it be production, whether it be camera technique, you have to go back and look at Doctor Who from 1963 to 1989, because that is a crash course in the 26 years of evolving British television in every sense, in every aspect, from technology to writing. It's all there. It's a masterclass because it was on for so long. And I think it's so important that students of television go and watch Doctor Who, because it's all in there. You know what I mean? How it evolved, how they've got to where they are today. I think it's wonderful stuff. So, yeah, brilliant, John. Thank you for that.
What's lovely about this as well is so much location work, which I always like. It's really nice.
Yeah. And it looks great.
I mean, one thing about the Invasion and a lot of 60s Doctor Who is it can stand shoulder to shoulder today with all the much bigger budget, all film TV series that were made at the time, like The Saint, The Prisoner, Man in a Suitcase, all those, made on the sort of budgets that Derek Sherwood at the time could only dream of. At Elstree Studios, much bigger sound stages on 35mm film with much more resources than this had. The fact that this stands shoulder to shoulder with those is a huge testament to how good the production was.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Absolutely. And, you can now look at all these TV shows that TV stations that we get now with all the repeats on it. You're constantly seeing Randall and Hopkirk deceased. The Avengers is on a lot. Yeah. We're getting stories. The Prisoner is on every now and then. And you're getting stuff from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s now as well on these repeat channels. Why aren't they pushing Doctor Who in there? I mean, I know the answer. It's rhetorical. It's a rhetorical question. I know it's because of BBC. But wouldn't it be brilliant if they just let it go and said, yes, you can have the Doctor Who episodes, because it would, to have something like, I don't know, The Saint, Randall and Hopkirk Deceased, Doctor Who, The Avengers. That's a good night's entertainment there. We wouldn't be on for a fact, would we? We'd be watching the telly.
Well,
But no, do you know what I'm getting at there? With these episodes, that would fit in beautifully.
It was a good few years back, but at one time, the Horror Channel reran a lot of 60s and 70s Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there was UK Gold before that as well, wasn't there?
UK
Gold, which I mean, UK Gold would have kept the new kids going. That's where they all came into it, wasn't it? I don't know if Kirsty and Emilio saw UK Gold back in the day.
Yeah.
There you go. See,
you needed a squarial to make it work, didn't you? I think. Yeah.
Did you
remember squarials? There were square aerials. Yeah.
No, I was probably in the pub.
Okay.
Yeah. Noodle Arms is saying the story seems very modern, as you could put a phone for new Who fans somewhere, and it would seem new and relevant. I don't think you even knew that, Noodle Arms. As Kirsty and Emilio was saying here, again, it's the beauty of Doctor Who. You know, there's a debate as to when this is set. So I think this is one of the stories, or I like to believe that this is one of the stories that Uncle Terry would say it was 5 minutes in your future. So I don't think you need it.
Well,
all, really.
I think it's maybe about 1979, because I think I've almost almost meant 35, maybe 40 years later. So it's 4 years later from Web of Fear. So it's about 79.
You can't tell though, isn't it?
Yeah. The Brigadier explicitly says the Web of Fear was 3 years previously.
He does,
yeah. And isn't there something in the Web of Fear that pretty much places it in 1974?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, this would make this 1977.
Yeah. See, because I haven't seen that yet, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
And it's probably likely I never will now. How times have changed, says Julian. Hiya, Julian. Season promotional pictures were Cybermen and dinosaurs. Now it's a bloke in a frock. Yeah, absolutely. It was all about the monsters back in proper Who, wasn't it?
And that's scary for very different reasons, isn't it? To be fair,
very different reason. This was made in the time when Doctor Who was family viewing, but wasn't treated as a joke or a platform, says Doc Martin. But totally. And this is why it breaks our heart when we look at where Doctor Who is today and the nonsense they're churning out today. You go back to something like The Invasion, and there it is. There's the Doctor. There's the Doctor in a proper Doctor Who story. And they're all taking it seriously. This is a proper invasion of the Cybermen on our planet. And it's just done so well. It's actually blooming scary. It's fabulous. You know? It's great to see you all in the chat. Thank you for coming to join us tonight and have a little breather. And it's great to know that you've all actually watched The Invasion as well. Gordon's coming back to us, guys. Gordon Webster, great to see you. On the billings page for episode 1, the Radio Times not only mentioned the Cybermen, but included a photograph of one descending the steps in front of St. Paul's. Oh, what a stupid
Calfield must have been livid.
Oh, Gordon, I never knew that. That's terrible, isn't it, guys? They could have left that for a few weeks. I bet the production office was spitting blood.
I bet they were, yeah.
That's like telling somebody what a birthday present is before they get it.
But it's a bit like though you're watching for 4 weeks and they're still not turned up. You know, that's really annoying.
And at the time, the Radio Times was one of the biggest selling magazines in the UK.
Well, it was. How things change, eh?
Yeah.
But it was. I mean, it was essential to have the Radio Times.
And it was cheaper than GT as well. It wasn't £8 a copy, was it?
No. No, was it something like 15p or 7p? I can't remember. It's going back too long ago, but it was really, but it was essential. Even in the 70s, when I was a kid, you had to have the Radio Times and the TV Times to know what was on the telly. Not that I was interested when Doctor Who wasn't on the telly, but that's that. Oh, Gordon, thank you so much for that piece of information. I never knew that, and I'm actually quite disappointed. But it's too late for me to do it.
It doesn't surprise me though. Really doesn't.
No, I mean, they wanted to do the same thing with Earthshock, didn't they? They wanted to give episode 1 the cover, for heaven's sake. You know, I know, Kirsty, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Richard Brooks is joining us as well. Mugcrap saying 60s UK TV is amazing, not just Doctor Who, Prisoner Avengers. It's awesome stuff. It's iconic stuff as well, isn't it? It's the stuff of legends, 60s television. I mean, how many creative minds did it inspire? Let's not look at the ones we've got running on Doctor Who now. Let's not include them. But how many really?
And they've all got fantastic theme tunes as well, haven't they?
They have. They really have. Ron Grainer did a lot of them, didn't he? Bless him. Yeah. Richard Brooks has joined us. Good evening, folks. The Invasion is an iconic story on many levels. many levels. SG is saying we didn't get UK Gold until 1998. I had to make do with the VHS until then. Yeah, same as me. But then I didn't really miss the satellite telly because I was out a lot. So when the video came on, it was easy. Just pop it in and watch it when I wanted to.
In 1983, for the 20th anniversary of Doctor Who, our art cinema called the Film House, which is going to reopen again soon apparently, did a celebration of Doctor Who for the 20th anniversary in March 83. And they showed various black and white episodes. And one was part 8 of The Invasion. And I saw that on the big screen. It was superb. Absolutely superb.
Wow. How fab.
Yeah, it was really good, really good. Along with bits of Moonbase, the Mind Robber, and some of the Daleks as well. So good.
Oh, well, maybe the BFI should be taking a little...
They should do that. That'd be great, because seeing it on the big screen is amazing. Especially
I'd love to see it on the big screen. I don't know about you guys, but I'd love to watch it on the big screen.
The atmosphere, and imagine in a cinema, be great when it's dark and you've got your popcorn. Yeah, they should show some classic Doctor Who stories in a cinema. I'll 100% pay to go and watch it.
Amelia, the trick that I think personally was missed in the 60th anniversary when they had a market. Yeah. Just because most of the fans would have gone to see it. I think us as classic fans would go and see these things on limited run, like we did with the Dalek movies a couple of years back. But I'd love to see the Invasion on big screen. Wouldn't you, Who viewers? Wow.
With Star Wars, they were doing that 4, 5, and 6 cinemas where we are. They were doing that again, and they released 1, 2, and 3 back in the cinemas, untouched, like no added extras or anything modern day. And people were chomping at the bit to get to the cinema for that.
Yeah.
If they do
excuse me.
Thing on classic periods, totally to have a big fan base.
Oh, I think so. I think they would get more going to see something like The Invasion from 1968 than they did do anything from the last nonsense. Honestly. And it'd be great to take some of the younger ones as well who haven't seen it and say, sit there and look at this and learn. It'd be brilliant, that, wouldn't it?
I think they did that for the 50th, didn't they? They showed BFI, they showed lots of a story from each Doctor and had a panel of cast from that particular story, which was lovely.
In London, though, wasn't it? And then you couldn't get to, and for those of us outside London, by the way, people like the BFI, we can't get there. Can you do a tour or something? Thanks very much.
Speaking as...
Oh, go on.
I'm going to say, speaking as somebody with a home cinema, then yes, seeing Doctor Who on the big screen.
Are you inviting us all around, George?
With our popcorn, Emilio.
Exactly, yeah.
Each other.
We'll bring popcorn, that's the selling point.
Exactly, yeah. Bring your own marathon, or Snickers, what we call it, and I'm showing my age. Poor Rose, I know about The Prisoner, but I've never watched it. I saw it a couple of days ago, it being quoted as one of the best shows of all time. Would you recommend I give it a go?
Yes and no, I would say.
Yeah, it's a very well made series, but it's a bit of a head scratcher.
It really is. I got bored. I know that's sacrilege to the Prisoner fans, but I got bored. But it is stylish. It's interesting. It makes you wonder. It's entertaining, and it's beautifully done. And it's a British icon, so I would say yes. Try it for yourself.
A friend of mine's a massive fan of it, and I watched it originally when I got on VHS in the late 80s. And only episode I liked particularly was The Girl Who Was Death, who was more like an episode of Danger Man rather than The Prisoner. And I was more into that than the rest of the series. But
there you go. I would say, go and watch it. Give it yourself a go and see what you think. We've got this from Dr. Martin. Wasn't Unit a creation of Derek Sherwin and didn't get royalties for?
Didn't he invent everything, though, Derek Sherwin? Yes. In Doctor Who.
I don't remember him ever getting royalties, but then I never met him. I never got to meet him. But I don't know if you guys heard anything about that over the years. No, it wouldn't surprise me because when you're on staff at the BBC, I think it's well, it was back in our day. If you were on staff at the BBC, paid for by the BBC, anything you came up with was more or less your own, was theirs.
Yeah. Yes. Look at Raymond Cusick, to be fair.
Yeah, I was going to say Ray Cusick is a good point in case.
Yeah. The look of K9. The design of K9 was by Tony Harding on staff for the BBC, so therefore it belongs to the BBC. But the character belongs now to the estates of Bob and Dave. We know what happened with the Daleks. That's the Terry Nation estate, and good for them, and well done for controlling that all these years. So no, I would imagine you're right on that one. You probably didn't get any royalties. The BBC weren't going to pay you if you were a staff member at all. That's why they always were very reticent about bringing characters back as well, because someone like Johnny Byrne, who created Nyssa of Traken, for example, he would have had to have a payment each time Nyssa was used. which would explain why John tried to get rid of her very quickly. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's very convoluted and very confusing, isn't it? Dalek Life Master saying to us, I'm new to Patrick Troughton's era, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it to be so well produced and written. It's all a bit of a revelation. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? That's great.
It really is. Yeah.
It has to be said, I suppose, like any era, though, that and his last year, season 6, is a good example of this. It can be variable. And for example, the story that came directly after this, the Crotons, you know, you'd be hard pushed to sing its praises as highly as the Invasion.
Well,
I don't know, because of nostalgia on the 5 Faces, I love the Crotons, but that's pure nostalgia for me. But yeah.
Paul Rose is saying to us there, the news this week has been referring to Who as a kids show. It's always been so much more than that. The Invasion is hardly the Teletubbies, is it? It's a family drama. I'm one of those fans that will stick to it. It was supposed to be a kids drama right at the beginning, but the production teams, as we know, Verity, etc., they treated it so much more than that, and it became what it became, which was for all ages, for everybody. Everybody could sit down and watch Doctor Who, no matter where they lived or what their political point of view were. It was for everyone, and it was a family drama. And the big quote, of course, is what Tom used to say, wasn't it, guys? Tom Baker used to say, you know, it was the only thing on television where mum, dad, the kids, granny, grandpa could all sit together and have 25 minutes of pure entertainment and fun as they all got involved with the show. And the Invasion is very much like that, you know, because you know, it's brilliant.
What it used to be in my household, and this episode would have been the same if I was back then when it was originally broadcast, that we'd all sit around and watch it, and my dad would go for that 45 minutes, go, it's quiet time, and we'd all sit and watch it. And it was
I love that.
I think we were lucky, because it was just before social media.
It's a family, we'd all sit down and watch it, and if we couldn't make it for the original broadcast, we'd all figure out a way how to either watch it maybe on the Sunday morning or like with iPlayer kicking off later on in the evening. And that was before we could get the player on the TV, so we'd all huddle around the computer and watch it on iPlayer. So this definitely would have been the same sort of episode as well, where it's quiet time, even if it was for these week contemporary.
I'll tell you something, Kirsty, you and Amelia, you've all been spoilt, because if we missed it, we missed it, and we had to wait 40 years to see it.
That was it. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I wouldn't have it any other way, JT. I enjoyed that time, I have to say.
Yeah, simpler times, weren't they, everybody? The only minor letdown for me, says Dalek Lives Matter, was when the first Cyberman spoke. The high-pitched, squeaky voice seemed out of place. And Legion of James, I remember the sheer excitement of getting the VHS and seeing the Invasion for the first time. I'd seen bits and clips, but never imagined just how great it was going to be, even with the links by Nick. It was a thrill. Do you guys remember when it came out?
Oh, yeah. That was the first time I saw the Invasion, was when the VHS release came out in 93.
I love how sparse the links were that Nick actually did.
Yes.
I think G&T wrote 3 lines for each episode. That was
I think Nicholas Courtney must have been very generous and given up a whole 20 minutes of his time to record those links.
I hope he was paid well for it,
He got lunch. John would have made sure he got lunch.
I'm sure,
knowing those two. But I mean, just to point out there what we were showing there for you. On the left, of course, was the novel for the Target range, which seemed to take ages to come, with that beautiful cover written by Mr. Ian Marter, and then the another brilliant cover there on the right hand side for the Invasion, which came out on Amelia and Kirsty. This came out on 2 VHS tapes. It was one of the double packs.
Yeah, Google that word.
Shut up.
At a bargain price of $19.99 in 1993.
It was fantastic, though. The 2 VHSs, mine's still there. And as you can see, it came out in the brilliant 30th anniversary year. Which is my second favorite anniversary year, actually. The 20th, the 30th, and then the 40th. Nothing else has come close to those 3. But what a gift to have the Invasion on. And it was a great day when it came out, Legion of James, wasn't it? Because I remember going, as usual, to our place on the Monday, buying it, then having to get work out, taking the phone off the hook, because that's what you used to do in those days. If you didn't want to go out, no temptations, and watching it all in one night and just being blown away. But Nick's pieces were lovely at the time, because we all knew we knew Nick, you know, and he was still around with us. But they didn't rock our world much, did they? Really, you know. God love him. It was nice to see him, put it that way. A lot of you, look at this. Richard Brooks is saying to us here, my first exposure to Pat Troughton's Second Doctor was in the Target novelizations. Absolutely. Watching him in later years has been a treat. He was a great Doctor. He certainly is in this one as well, isn't he? He's absolutely stunning in this. He's wonderful.
I mean, all credit to Patrick Troughton. I mean, what I just said a few minutes ago about the Crotons, even when he's not as well served by the scripts in Invasion, he's still nothing short of brilliant in every single episode he's in.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
And
same way as Thomas. Yeah.
I mean, considering it's been well documented over the years, by the time Troughton got to his third year, he was very, very fatigued. He was suffering practically from exhaustion. He was getting a bit ratty, and he wanted out. That not a scrap of that shows in his performance.
No. I mean, what a pro! I mean, did you two know this, Kirsty and Emilio? Did you know that when this was being filmed, he was really, really off he didn't want to do this anymore. He knew he was going to go.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can't tell, can you?
Well, sort of hearing you guys talk about it, I knew there was trouble in paradise, but that's a professional. You have to suck it up, and especially in that kind of industry, your world might be going to tatters, but you still got to go and do a job, so you've got to go suck it up. And you would never know at all that he was knackered or body was tired, broken, and he just gave it all. And it was, as much as I'm loving right now my Pertwee and my Baker, I still love the Second Doctor from the episodes I've seen of him. That it is the smartest man in the room, but still that is that alien quality that we miss nowadays, and how funny but smart and charming that is at the same time. And that balls, kudos, and that takes a man with big balls to do that. That this is the first guy to take over from William as well. And he to be honest, out of all the iterations, he's had the hardest job, because he's had, apart from like Peter did as well from Tom, but he's had to jump in and do his own. So really, people and go. He was the one that they had to mold it from. So that is kudos again to the industry as well. That it's hard to find those kind of people nowadays. That when the world is going to crap inside with you, that you've got to have to kind of suck it up and just get on with the job.
I think Pat's probably one of the best actors to play the Doctor, because he's a real character actor.
Yeah,
he's really playing a part.
I mean, he's been described numerous times in the past as a chameleon. He becomes the part that he's playing, and that's I think very accurate. He was an absolutely brilliant actor. If you've ever read Patrick Troughton's biography written by Michael, one of his sons, he reveals in that Patrick Troughton wanted to opt out at the end of his second year. Yeah, but just as he was gearing up to do that and not renew his contract, running alongside that it turned out that Patrick Troughton was very forgetful when it came to paying his income tax. And the Inland Revenue caught up with him and whacked him with an enormous tax bill.
So we've got HMRC to find for a contribution then.
And the reason he signed up for the third year was to pay this huge tax bill. And apparently with all the money that, again, because it's widely known that he had two families he was supporting and all the rest of it, and then paying off the huge backlog of tax. Another thing that made him ratty was he did that final year practically for nothing, because all the money he earned just went, and he saw, very, very little of it.
Yeah. Wow. We've got some cracking episodes as a result of that.
And the thing as well, Emilio, is in that final season of his as well, superb performances. I'm so glad we got that third season, because that's when he really is the Doctor. There's no doubt when you see what we've got left of this season, he's nailed this characterization. He knows what he's doing with this, and it's just a joy to get those stories. Whether he wants to be there or not, you don't know. But there he is. His character is there. It's just.
I love his comedy touches in this as well. There's a lovely bit, and I think it's end of part 2 when him and Jamie run off round the corner and then swiftly run back again like the Marx Brothers. That is superb. That's hilarious.
It's a very Doctor Who moment.
Yeah.
And there's a bit where Jamie at the end, like he falls asleep, and then the doctor's like, almost like, Jamie, you're back with us, and he just gives him this like look, and it's just very subtle.
Yes.
Why are you falling asleep in the middle of a crisis? Basically.
It is, isn't it? I love the way he just looks at him. Oh, there you are. That sort of stuff. It's just brilliant.
Oh, the bit where he gets surrounded by the two Jaguars and the units arrive to pick them up, and he's playing the cards, and he goes, and his look on his face is brilliant. It's lovely.
It's great. It's absolutely come and play with us. Oh, you're not going to. Okay. Richard Brooks. I love the scene when the Doctor and Jamie are in the canoe. I can't believe that. Pat doesn't paddle until Fraser turned round. A great piece of comedy and a dark story. Again, it's those two messing around, isn't it? That's not characterization. It's those two sending each other up. It's absolutely brilliant.
Well, I love when the Doctor always shuts Jamie up by nudging him or kicking him if he mentions the TARDIS or something. He says something out of turn. It's brilliant. To nudge or kick. It's great.
It's those little moments that Patrick puts into his performance that makes the Doctor. And actually, it's carried on because a couple of them that follow him have seen that when they've grown up with Pat, so they try and replicate it. And I think that's wonderful. I love it. Interesting seeing Edward Burnham in this with the more sensible haircut than the one he sports in Robot a few years later, says Graham. There he is. It's great to see him, actually, isn't it? Really, that was a shock when I remember getting the video, because I either didn't know or I'd forgotten he's in this. Oh my God, you instantly know him. Great.
Yeah. I was the same. I looked at the screen and went, "Oh, it's Professor Kettlewell."
Oh God, it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And he's I know it's a replacement part, a sub part, or whatever you want to call it, for the characters they can't use, but it works well, doesn't it? You hear somebody else that the Doctor sort of latches onto because he recognizes a human mind that is more capable than some around him.
Nice.
He says trying to be nice.
He delivers it in spades. The absolute fear and terror and breakdown he's having when he attempts to shoot Tobias Vaughan. And he's just losing it completely. And again, typical of any children's kid show going, you then cut to Tobias Vaughan smiling with the smoking bullet holes.
Love it.
I love the fact that little hints that he's cybernetic, and the guys in the warehouse are cybernetic as well. There's a few hints about having bits replaced, which is really nice.
I love this from Kess the Drone that's in the chat. Troughton's so good, you can almost see his thoughts. Every role I've seen him in is different and believable. Absolutely. I love that you can almost see his thoughts, because in the Doctor, you're spot on, Kess the Drone. You can, because you can see his Doctor considering everything that's going on around him, or solving a problem, or putting on a persona. How do I put my persona of being slightly not quite there? The comic, the clown, so I can get out of this. There are moments in Patrick Troughton's Doctor where he's actually visually looking around, and you just assume he's looking for the escape route as soon as he walks into a room. I mean, it's just a genius portrayal. Wonderful.
Always for his iteration, I always think of chess.
Oh, do you?
That you've got like playing chess. That it's 2 steps ahead, sort of the pieces of trying to figure things out, or how, as you say, find the escape room. That's, if I think of Patrick Troughton's version of the Doctor, I think of playing chess, with being that clever that you. And that good that you can jump ahead and go back.
Have you seen Tomb of the Cybermen, Kirsty? There's bits in that where he manipulates everybody in the tomb, and he pretends that he doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really brilliantly done.
I mean, his performance always was, he's the smartest person in the room, but he's the only person who knows that.
Whereas, Pertwee would be shouting at the villains, or having a go at them, and he playing basically he's difficult. Troughton is he basically, his Doctor basically like, I should play along with the villain, like, let's behave ourselves, Jamie. Let's listen, kind of follow orders, listen to what they say, because as Kirsty says, he's already he's wanting not to, you kind of want to get on their side to find out more, but also at the same time he's working things out in his head. So it's nice actually to have that, back to back, to have that kind of contrasting approach with those two Doctors.
He does that beautifully in the Dominators, when him and Jamie have to pretend to be stupid, and the Doctor says, "Can you manage that, Jamie?" He goes, "Oh, aye."
I think we'll leave the Dominators with Kirsty and Emilio for a little while.
Yeah.
Well, just a
But
little while.
again, like George said, they're brilliant in it. Pat and Fraser are brilliant in it. Yeah, regardless.
I
of
love
what
it as well, Who viewers, that you've got people like Kirsty and Emilio joining us here, who are just loving this thing when they've been brought up on New Who. You know, because it's a different beast that these two have been brought into, isn't it, guys? You know, and when you look at someone from the 60s, I think we were quite lucky. From my point of view, I think I was quite lucky because the Pertwee Baker era is not that far removed from the Troughton era, really. And certainly in this season, when you've got stuff happening, you know, we've had the Yeti one, we've got the Cybermen one, it's moving it forward. The plan is there. It's very clever what they were doing at the time, considering that they hadn't really been given a green light for 7 yet. You know,
no.
It's very clever of them to start laying foundations, and it must be terribly stressful. Yeah, the groundwork, Emilio. Yeah, the rapport between Fraser and Patrick was so evident in their performances. The Doctor is very fond of Jamie, and vice versa.
Yeah,
it is. It absolutely is. And of course, years later, the Doctor, when he meets Jamie again in his 6th persona, actually says, doesn't he? I seem to recall I was always very fond of Jamie.
Yeah,
and that's a lovely moment from a Doctor there to say, to admit that. Something similar happened with Sarah.
Yeah.
Years later. But that's acknowledging those performances and the fondness that people genuinely had for the Troughton era, because they were watching it, either growing up with it or young people getting ready on a Saturday night to go out and watching it. I love all that. I think it's fantastic.
It's interesting how the companion touch, which one touched the Doctor's life, or he maybe remembers more fondly than others. I mean, I think it's quite an interesting thing. I mean, he's had so many. Naturally, as a person, he's going to have his favourites. Let's just say.
What is amazing is that Fraser Hines is in almost every story apart from Power of the Daleks of Troughton's run, which is an incredible amount of episodes.
Yeah.
Well, it was Patrick Troughton that got Fraser Hines, because he was going to opt out a few stories earlier than he did.
Yes.
But Patrick Troughton got him to stay to the end of the season.
And
I'm so glad he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there going to be a new male companion called? Was it Nick? Was the original idea?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm glad that let's all go out together, and then Wendy joined that, because of course they wanted Wendy to stay for Pertwee, didn't they? The second is my Doctor, says Carwin, and the line that switched me to him when he was writing on the wall and asked, "What are you doing?" and he replies, "I knew the answer. I was trying to figure out what the question was."
One of my other favourite bits is the bit where they get stuck in the lift. And he says it's the lift that's stuck, not us. And then he says, "You're a clever wee chappie." And then they go up the ladder. He says, "What happens if the lift keeps coming?" Simple, Jamie. We get squashed.
Matter of fact, I love that.
Absolutely brilliant.
I love it. It just shows that beautiful relationship they've got. Digby, watching Troughton again, I appreciate how much our idea of the Doctor is crystallized in the second Doctor, but I still love Hartnell, obviously, of course you do.
Yeah,
and Bill is saying, watching Troughton, you can see why Matt Smith heavily based his Doctor on the second. Well, Matt Smith would have recognized the actor when he saw one, I think, because Matt Smith is in fact a modern day character actor in my eyes. I think he's superb. So,
and apparently he watched Tomb of the Cybermen as well. So
he did,
didn't he? That's his favourite story, he said.
But I genuinely think if he went back and saw some Troughton, he went, "I love this performance. I can do this, and I'm going to do something as an,
And you can definitely see it in the 11th Doctor a little bit, maybe not to the same extent, but the way he slaps his hands about, the way he kind of he sometimes can play a little bit of like he's harmless, but he lets on a kind of childish kind of aspect of the Doctor, but he could go for his enemies. He could turn on a dime, and I think that's a good character trait that obviously Troughton probably played a key part in that.
It's such a shame there's so many gaps in Troughton's time in the archive.
Oh, isn't it just criminal?
I mean, even when episode 2 of The Underwater Menace turned up, best one in the world, not one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever. But my God, Patrick Troughton is absolutely superb in it.
Yes,
I still don't understand the reasoning behind it all. Actually, it was shocking. It was Patrick Troughton. The man was a star.
Yeah.
And then,
I'm so glad we got Web of Fear and End of the World back in 2013.
Well, I was going to say, if you want to see how great Patrick Troughton was doing a nuanced performance, watch Enemy of the World, because not only does he play the Doctor and Salamander in that, he also plays the Doctor impersonating Salamander.
Yeah.
He plays Salamander impersonating the Doctor.
That's
You know, and all four of those are very distinct from each other. You can look at it and think, you know, you've put that in there, so you know what's going on. You really thought that through.
Yeah.
the
And
best classic episodes I have seen so far.
yeah,
And you can't replicate that on animation, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So yeah.
We've got lots of people in the chat agreeing with what we're saying here as well. John is saying to us, look, Richard Brooks, first of all, if only we had all of Patrick's stories. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking. John saying to us, Pat and Fraser were great pals. They certainly were. Lots of legends about them on the convention circuit as well. Richard Brooks, I predict a return to an analog technology. Digital manipulation is so easy that older technologies will provide a defense against alteration. Video can be altered, but it's a different and past skill. Richard, that is an idea for a Doctor Who story. Trademark it immediately. Copyright Who's Views, and we'll work on that if and when it ever gets the opportunity. That's all I'm saying today about that. Dalek Lives Matter is saying,
JT for showrunner in 2035. There you go.
Dalek Lives Matter. It's hard to find any fault with the performances, even something minor, such as when Benton is looking at the brig using the phone. It's like he's actually living in the moment. And then Julian is saying this. I love this. Listening to Kirsty and Emilio, such intelligent youngsters of great taste in entertainment, is restoring my faith in the shiny young fandom. Isn't it brilliant?
There's
I
hope
love
for
it
us
that-
yet. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I love it that they come on here and they get the message from me saying, "Oh, we're going to do this," and then they toddle off and watch it, and then they come back, and it's just brilliant. Absolutely, it's part of the ongoing education I feel from Who's Views. Yes, and I love it. I love it. And Farsight is saying Pat Troughton was brilliant in the Box of Delights too. Speaking of which, here's a plug coming up. If you haven't seen our review of the Box of Delights, which we did in December last year, celebrating its 40th anniversary. Oh, God.
Will you stop saying the dates of how long it's been?
It's on the playlist. You can go and look at it now. We did a review of the Box of Delights, so go and have a look at that. Not now, but go and look at it after the show or something like that, because Patrick Troughton he's just so brilliant in that. So we did an adoring show for them there as well. Digby, imagine an actor actually researching the lore around a role rather than relying on your inherited characteristics. Yeah. Well, yes, indeed. And this is where it is all in. It's in this, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant because it's in this. You can see them working so hard here. Even the guys that are playing the Cybermen are working really hard. They are listening to the direction. They're listening to what they've got to do, and they go off and bloom and do it. It's wonderful.
The thing about Pat as well was he used to watch Doctor Who with his kids. And there's various interviews with him talking about remembering the Zarbi and stuff like that, which is wonderful.
Well, his son Michael was a huge Doctor Who fan as a child.
Yeah,
and it was a ritual in the Troughton household that he would sit down and watch Doctor Who.
Yeah,
because originally Pat Troughton was going to be in the Gunfighters.
That's right,
Johnny Ringo. That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
Right, but he couldn't do it because the dates overlapped with an episode of the Douglas Wilmer Sherlock Holmes series.
See, that was fate. That was. I think. I genuinely believe that was fate.
Yeah.
You know, something going on there in time and space, being able to say, "We've got something else planned for you."
And apparently, Patrick Troughton wanted to do it because he wanted to impress Michael, his son, that he'd been in his dad was in Doctor Who. And
even then,
the story goes that he was disappointed that he couldn't do it because the dates overlapped. But had he have done that and appeared in the Gunfighters, it's highly unlikely he would have been cast as the Doctor.
When Michael found out he was cast as the Doctor, that must have been he'd be very excited about that.
Yeah. Can you imagine? He must have wet himself, couldn't he?
He must have done, yes.
He was able to say then, my dad is Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Not has been in Doctor Who.
Never mind Johnny Ringo. Yeah. God,
wasn't one of Troughton's sons? Wasn't he the professor in Midnight?
Yes.
Yes. David Troughton. Yeah. He was also King Peladon in The Curse of Peladon.
Michael Troughton's in Last Christmas with Capaldi. He's in that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And David Troughton was also an extra in Enemy of the World, and he had a very small role as a soldier in the War Games.
But not in the colour version.
Yeah.
Not in the colour version. I know, isn't that
a lucky escape?
Yes.
Lex, thank you for your super chat. Parker, what a great bad guy name. Always panics. Yeah. Yeah. Although it does remind me of being the chauffeur in Thunderbirds, I have to say.
Or a
But
pen.
I like Stephen. Thank you for this. Emilio and Kirsty are hope for the future of Doctor Who. Oh, thank you for that. That's lovely. See, guys, you've got fans here. What else have we got here? It's such a shame, says Paul Stenford, that we don't have all of Troughton's episodes of Doctor Who in the archives, but I'm still holding out hope that more will be returned. Well, without hope, we don't have anything, do we?
Yeah.
Um,
That's one thing that I love about 60s Who, that mystery of the missing episodes, always find intriguing. It's wonderful.
Yes.
You know?
The one thing that really does rub me up the wrong way is apparently the last full story that BBC Enterprises junked was the Macra Terror, all 4 episodes. And apparently it was junked literally days before the order came through from the BBC Film Library to retain everything.
Yeah. So hands up, everybody in the audience, as Doctor Who fans, when we discovered time travel, who's popping back to the 70s? Don't stop that yet.
Never mind stopping this.
Taking a video recorder
Let's
with
go
them.
back for the episodes.
Get everything in order, Paul. You know, Doctor Who comes first. Actually, I would probably go back, sit at the skip, take everything, take it home.
Yeah.
Sell it now for a fortune.
What's this here? Yes. Apparently some people did, and that's where the hope that episodes still survive lies.
There's a lot to be said for light-fingered, allegedly BBC technicians.
Thank you for that, Carwin. And Mudcrab saying, I feel weird calling Emilio and Kirsty youngsters because I'm not that much older than, hang on, wait, I was born in the 70s. Sigh.
How long ago was that, GT, the 70s? Can you tell me?
70s, you're young. If you're in the 70s, not that far off, you know.
No, not that far.
It's 55 years ago, 1970 was, It was keep being told.
A lot of, we do have to mention actually very quickly, of course. Now, I love the fact that Kirsty sent us a chat when she put this this story on, and she went, "What's going on with episode 1?" Because of course we didn't have episode 1, and we had to explain that because it's missing, it was an animation. But you guys in the chat will all know I'm not a big fan of these animations, especially the current ones. I can't sit through them. I think they took I'd rather watch Captain Pugwash, for those of you that remember Captain Pugwash, to be quite honest, than this nonsense. I've got the CDs, I've got the audios, I'll go and listen to them. Or I'll buy them when they come down to something like $4.99 on DVD and just put them on the shelf and forget about them. I don't even watch. I have real problems. But like with the 10th Planet, which we reviewed last week, this is animation I can actually watch because I think it is so glossy. I think it is so good. It's the animation I grew up with when you look at things like Danger Mouse and Duckula. I love this British animation. And I can get into this story. And I don't actually mind the couple of episodes that we've got here from Cosgrove Hall. May they rest in peace. How wonderful.
And the likenesses are so accurate as well, I think.
Yeah,
I think the animated episodes work where they do fill the gaps, like the Invasion, Moonbase, 10th Planet, etc. Where what is already a very limited budget is stretched so thinly over 6 episodes.
Yeah,
just to put out a cash grab DVD and Blu-ray of very substandard quality because of the lack of money that's there to do it justice. Like you, JT, I really, really struggle with them.
And the thing about the animation is I don't understand who it's aimed at, because we're going to buy it because we want it, but it has to be better than what we're getting. That's the thing.
I keep
it's not
thinking
for an imaginary audience, is it? Let's be honest.
I do keep thinking to myself, had Cosgrove Hall unfortunately not gone out of business, would they have continued doing these? I think they would have done, because they were so good. At the time, we were all raving about this, saying these animations are gorgeous, and then they did that Scream of the Shalka thing as well, didn't they? We've got to remember that they did that. So, Kirsty, Emilio, when you got over the shock of being introduced to an animated Doctor right at the very beginning in part 1, what did you reckon to this?
I thought it was wicked.
I agree. I think you could very easily have the animation, then it go into obviously real live action, and it kind of take you out of it, or you feel like you're watching two different things. But I think it flowed really well. I think it caught the atmosphere of the episode very well. The animation's very good. I honestly, when I watched it for the first time, I forgot there was animation at the beginning because I was just so engrossed in the story.
Yeah,
that's when it does it well. I think it could, as I say, it could be very easy for you just to kind of watch that first episode, go into the second, and then kind of have the temptation just to switch it off because it just feel too different, but it works really well.
Thank you, Lex, for your super chat. I love it when the Doctor runs and jumps from blowing up the Cybermen. That's a classic one.
That's my favourite Troughton moment of all time, definitely.
It's Troughton's Doctor to a T. What an athletic man he was.
Yeah.
If somebody turned around to me and said, right, I want to commission you to do a 1-minute promo reel about everything that makes Doctor Who magic, and you can use, anything you want from the entire back history, certainly one of the shots would be in there is that one of Troughton running away from the explosions.
Or the one in Seeds of Death when he's being chased by the Ice Warrior with all the mirrors. That is superb as well.
That's another great one. John is saying...
when they did the 11th Doctor Confidential for Matt Smith when he was announced, they did show that as one of the highlight scenes from the second Doctor, that scene. Yeah.
No one can do it the same way. That's a Troughton move for his Doctor. None of the others can. I mean, certainly today. The animations I struggle with, says John. John, I know exactly what you mean. I really do. Did you struggle with the animations for this and 10th Planet, though? Because I don't with this one, because it's good. As I say, it's good quality animation. There's care, there's love, there's respect in there. I also love the way in the Invasion, a lot of photography is involved with the animation. I think that's very stylish.
Very film noir-y as well, isn't it? Which is really nice. Lots of shadow.
And it works beautifully. Doesn't it? It ties everything in together with the actual footage we've got left. And I just think it's very... Well, I think it's very now, actually. It's very artistic, so that it still looks good now for these animations. You know what I mean?
They complement the surviving episodes rather than being a totally at odds production style that a lot of the other animations are.
Yeah.
Look at this from Don Ho. Hello, Don. Nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. I was born in 1958. 58, so you're all youngsters to me. I love this, Don. So you were there as a kid watching these stories live. I absolutely love that, because I'm always thinking when I watch these things of your generation being thrilled every Saturday night and being surprised and scared and going through the traumatic...
So you've seen episode 1 and 4 for real, no animation, which is great.
I love it. And were you there for the regeneration or the change from Hartnell to Troughton that we talked about last week on the 10th Planet? What did you think about it? Were you stunned? Were you shocked? I love that we're getting people coming back now from... Welcome. It's lovely to see you, mate. Thank you for joining us. Digby is saying to us, I love the Cosgrove Hall, but what do people think of some of the experiments in AI? I'd rather move on because it scares the crap out of me. It's very clever. It's very clever, the stuff I've seen, but I find it scary because I think it can be abused dramatically.
It's not quite there yet to do it with Doctor Who episodes. It's getting there, but not quite.
Yes.
There are some brief sequences I've seen that are very, very impressive. But again, there's some where it just stretches it too far, and it doesn't look convincing. But I have seen moments where you look and go, that is quite phenomenal.
It's got potential, certainly, yeah.
Well, as you're saying, Paul, it's not quite there yet. George, you're agreeing with that. But they're working on it. Every time I see something else from it, I just think, wow, this is incredible. There's certain things they've done for other sci-fi shows, like that beautiful thing with Shatner and Leonard Nimoy for the Star Trek fans, which was just heartbreak. But you know that they're going to be looking at this because it's another way to churn out these stories to us and get money from us.
One thing I did think was really interesting, I did watch, somebody had uploaded a version of episode 1 of Invasion of the Dinosaurs to YouTube where they'd use AI to restore the colour.
I saw it.
Now, parts of
we
it...
report on it on headlines, Paul, as well. I think we put it in headlines.
We did,
Yeah, we did, Coast, yeah.
Parts of it obviously needed additional work. I don't know what you do with AI if you program in information and it then extrapolates that and converts it over to images. Because, there were sequences where the unit uniforms were blue as if they were in the RAF and that sort of thing. But there were other sequences where, to me, that looked like full broadcast quality, that it was absolutely spot on.
It'll get there, and I swear to you, as soon as it gets there and it's as near perfect as they can get it, damn it, they will say, by the way, everybody, here's all the missing Hartnell and Troughtons again, and they're $29.99 each. Come and get them now. And we will, because especially us that they've told to bugger off over the last several years, Paul and George, all
Yeah.
of us, as well as
Exactly,
the good ones like the great ones like Kirsty and Amelia, will go
At
and
least
buy
we'll
it
have to buy
again.
Spearhead from space again, though. That's one thing.
Bill Lowry, The Invasion was my most recent viewing in a marathon. The animation here is the best so far. Really looking forward to the Savages. Not. Yeah, I'm not. No. I haven't bought any of them recently.
I have to say,
can't
I'm not
do
looking
it.
forward to the animation, but on the extra, they've got a 90-minute documentary about Innes Lloyd, which sounds superb, and a making of this 90 minutes, which sounds quite interesting.
Yeah.
But the animation looks awful.
Yeah,
One-
yeah. I mean, I'd love to see those, but I'm not going to buy these things where I can't watch the actual stories until it's dirt cheap.
Yeah,
which is
can't do it.
Yeah, which is how I've bought all of mine except for one. One other advantage of the animations, I suppose this is a bit anaraki, is it does give you a very nice, clean, restored copy of the soundtrack without the narration over it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And now, well, the narrations, of course, that we've had are all coming out now, re-released on vinyl, like the 10th Planet out on Record Store Day this year. So that there's so much marketable material out there, even from 20 years ago. And the Invasion, we've also that is marketable in several forms, because yes, they can put it on DVD. They can put it on a Blu-ray if they want to. They can put it on a vinyl again if they want to. They can do the soundtrack again. Such a good story, because it's Troughton, it's the Cybermen, it's Unit, it's all in there. It's a real sellable story for them.
Oh yeah.
Cosgrove Hall was a fantastic part of my childhood, said Lex, for a super chat. Thank you, Lex. Yes, mine too. Danger Mouse being the biggie. I love Duckula. Chorlton and the Wheelies. Oh, little old lady.
A little old lady. Yeah.
Hey, listen, if you have never seen Chorlton and the Wheelies, people out there, go and look it up, from Cosgrove Hall. It's about a dragon and a Welsh witch. Fabulous.
The Welsh witch was really scary, I remember, as well.
She was green as well, wasn't she? And he loved her. Chorlton loved her. All right, little old lady. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Nobody knows what I'm talking about, but it was British lunchtime classics. Anyway, there we go. Richard is saying to us, we'll create AI animated stories from the telesnaps. I think this is the future for missing episodes. Absolutely.
The only thing with that is, I think you can create brief sequences for missing episodes using the telesnaps and AI. But if you think about it, I think the average number of telesnaps per episode where they exist is about 70.
Yeah.
Now there's 24 frames to a second of moving image, and there's 25 minutes, say. So you're looking easily north of 30,000 frames.
It's a lot, yeah.
And we've got 70 of them to work with. That's a lot of
guesswork. It's also the lip
it?
syncing seems to be a real problem as well, which is hard to get the natural.
Well, wasn't that what happened with that crappy Space Babies recently? They couldn't get it right for that one.
And that was with 100 million.
I know immediately. Oh yeah, I had to bring it down there. Yeah. I want Daryl to do the animation. His work is absolutely incredible, says Gravy. Yeah, Daryl, our friend Daryl Joyce, he's done some wonderful stuff recently. If you haven't seen it, go and have a look at it. It's all brilliant, and he's got a lot more to come. I am told by the man himself. What else we got here as well? Richard saying, thank goodness we've got proper Doctor Who from 63 to 89, and we always will, because it's superior. It's good quality, good stuff, as Emilio and Kirsty are proving here. It's just brilliant. The animation was brilliant in this story, says Derek, unlike the recent Crystal Toy Maker. Oh dear. And going into the animated cliffhanger and coming out into the real footage was very easy due to the quality of the animation, says Bill. Absolutely, I totally agree with that. It just flowed beautifully, and I didn't notice so much the two episodes here, because I just thought, I can watch this is good stuff, so thank you for that, everybody. We've been mentioning in the chat as well. Oh, hi, Adrian and Austin. Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining us. Austin is actually saying Doctor Who will finally get the showrunner it deserves. AI, steady on. Steady on. That's funny. I like that. We've been mentioning throughout the show as well the iconic elements of this story. Let's just take a couple of minutes to do that now, because of course, as we're growing up in the 70s, all we had of this story was pictures, and I had the story in my head because of the story, or because of these pictures that we had. Just brilliant, iconic pictures. Let's have a look at some of them and the memories that they can bring back. Doctor Who Weekly and the Doctor Who, the Target Doctor Who monster book were the main sources of these.
Yeah.
But this one,
Yep.
That one's in the Rare Time special as well, isn't it? I think it's a
Yeah.
lovely photograph.
but I can't tell you what the stories I were making up of the Cybermen coming out the sewers on this one as well. And of course, it was in Doctor Who Weekly as one of their crazy caption things. You remember
Yeah.
the competition?
I love when they push them up in the air. I know they're polystyrene, but they look superb. They really do. Superb.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Nice.
beautiful.
Incredible. And they've never managed to recapture that, how often they may have tried.
I don't know why they ever bothered to
Yeah.
try. You cannot
Yeah.
recapture that. That is a true British television classic moment with that music as well, that
Yeah.
thing going on there. I mean, why even bother? It was so annoying when they tried
Yeah.
to do it again.
Yeah.
Wasn't I was cringing. I was cringing with most of that season, I have to say, but that particular moment, I was like, no. You know, it was just utter fan wank, to be quite honest.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Two noticeable absences from the invasion that I thought of when I watched it the other day was Patrick Troughton doesn't have his recorder in this one.
He does use it as a telescope, though, doesn't he? Remember, he looks
Yes.
to. He doesn't play it though. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are no Cybermats.
Yeah.
No Cybermen, probably because they were just a pain in the arse. Quite
Yes.
frankly, yeah. Can you imagine them whizzing around outside?
Apparently, the servant robot was meant to be in this story. Apparently, then they changed it to the planner. Apparently.
Oh, there you go. We've got some other nice ones as well. We showed this one, obviously. There's this one. Now, this is because look at it. I love the fact. Look at all these kids looking there.
Yeah.
There are lots, as George was saying earlier, there are lots and lots of behind the scenes shots. We are so lucky that they catalogued this the way they did.
Yeah. I love that shot when the Cyberman's coming out the sewer and grabs Jamie's leg, and then the soldier hits him with the butt of the rifle. That is really superb.
You get the metallic
Again, the radio-
effect.
Yeah,
Yeah, the sound effects at the Radiophonic Workshop added to that.
Yeah,
You know, really sell it in a big way.
exactly. He's having a nice day.
Yeah.
Hello, sailor.
Who wears me liner? Yes.
And bend and stretch and bend and stretch.
I'm a trained actor, you know, lad.
Yes.
The
I was at the
cybernetic green
radar.
goddess there, yeah. So,
I mean, there are lots and lots of pictures that we've had backstage, of course, and you can see a lot of them. And that's just a selection of them all. You can go and Google them because they're there. And thank goodness it was catalogued, because for years and years and years, that's all we had of the invasion from my point of view. And it was lovely to see it. And boy, was I jealous of those other kids in all the shots that are sometimes there, watching the fellas put the heads on and stuff like this. You know, I was just thinking, wow, they knew the Cybermen were coming back. But we didn't have the internet those days, so none of them were going home or taking pictures at the time or going, oh, look what's coming back into Doctor Who. Ugh. Spoilers. No, absolutely, just happy days on those. I mean, just great. What a story, everybody. Absolutely fantastic. And what a cast. Like on a couple of weeks ago, George actually mentioned on the start of our series, our Cyber Chat show, that the exhibitions had a little bit of a problem identifying which Cyberman went with which era. Here's the picture George sent me. Standby beds.
Oh,
Right, spot the Cybermen in this, everybody. Come on, we've got a revenge helmet there on the right.
yeah.
I mean, the revenge one is pretty close. The chest unit's upside down.
Test units upside down.
Yeah.
And it is lost a hand as well by the looks of things.
It's a shame.
The
But
wheel
look at
one
that
looks
one
like
on
he's
the
been in a car crash, doesn't he?
Well, his body's the wrong way round for a start.
Yeah, yeah.
That must be his back. But look at that. The chest unit. Where's the chest unit from? Is that?
That's an invasion one, isn't it? I think.
It is, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it? It looks really primitive, doesn't it?
And it's a moon base
Moonbase.
Tomb of the Cybermen costume, isn't it? I think.
And I love just on the left there, you can see a mummy from Pyramids.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the spaceship from the mutants, isn't it?
That's the spaceship.
Also,
from the-
it is, yeah.
Yeah. A lot bigger than I thought it was, actually.
Mm.
Yeah. But isn't that a shame that they didn't put them together properly? But thanks for that picture, George. Isn't that lovely,
That's
everybody?
quite
That's from
all right.
Blackpool, was it?
I think
That was Blackpool, yes.
is the wheel and space Cybermen back to front. That's what
Yes.
the problem is, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yeah. That's his back. That's the
Yeah,
back
yeah.
there.
I mean,
Supposed to
you
look
can,
right.
you can see the rip on the seam between the shoulder and the arm there,
Yeah.
where with the actors in it's flexed forward.
Yeah.
I suspect that was probably the one used, that photo shoot with John Pertwee.
Yeah.
Oh,
from
right. Okay.
1970.
Okay.
That Cyberman doesn't know if he's coming or going, does he? That's the problem. Yeah.
Or even Bean, to quote
Or
Colin.
Bean, yeah.
Yeah, we are coming up, everybody, now to scores on the TARDIS doors. So start putting all your scores out of 10. If you're new to us, what we do here is we ask the panel, the Whotastic panel. We also ask you in the chat to mark the episode we've just been looking at together out of 10. So start popping your scores in there just now. While I look at Adrian Sherlock, who's saying to us, I've seen all of Dalek Master Plan as AI animated telesnaps, and it was brilliant. That's exciting, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's on the way.
I've seen one episode of the Dalek Master Plan as an AI reconstruction, and did I sit there and think I'm actually watching the episode? No, but I got more of a feel of what it would be like than any other reconstruction that I've seen.
I agree. Yeah.
We've got lots of love for Vaughn in this. He's an absolutely fantastic one. An absolute fantastic villain, a very bad. He played beautifully as well. The chilling lines to Stephen Braddock from the Doctor at the end of part 7 is that what you wanted, Vaughn, to be the ruler of a dead world? Realization for some of these bodies is very baddies. It's very good, isn't it, when it comes through?
Yeah.
And Don Ho, if we lose Doctor Who due to pure management, it would be tragic. Come back and talk to us on Sunday, Don Ho, at 8 o'clock live here on the channel. We're going to be talking more about that because we've been saying all these things for quite a while. We're going to be doing an update on this on Sunday. But all I would say to you is there's better management out there. Yeah. We're not going to lose hope. There's better management. We just don't know who they are or where they are right now. Raymond, hello, Raymond Williams. Imagine traveling back in time to record these old Who's only to find the inside TV aerial is playing up. 6 books on top of TV, higher, lower to the right, left, up, down, there. These two won't know what we're talking about.
Yes. Or a very strong wind blows the aerial off the chimney.
Yeah.
What does she look like with a chimney on her? Right, yeah, so let's get into this. We're going to start now. So start putting your scores out there as I do. Yay, scores on the TARDIS doors for the invasion. I'm actually going to start this time with George.
Okay. Yesterday was the first time I'd watched the invasion in well over 10 years. And my memory was telling me that it was a slow burner. It took a while to pick up, but when it got to the Cybermen actually appearing, it built up a pace. I've revised my opinion a bit since that. I still think it would work better as a 6-parter than an 8-parter. Even though the first episode is full of intrigue and very watchable, there's nothing in it which moves the story forward that isn't in other episodes. And that's why I suspect that's where the extra 2 episodes were written in the first half of the story rather than the second. The positives about this story are so much greater than the negatives. I can only think of a very few minor things like that. As we said, Patrick Troughton is just superb. And there's nobody who would ever convince me otherwise that he wasn't anything less than absolutely brilliant in this. Ditto Kevin Stoney. I think it's a shame that Zoe wasn't the strong character that she normally was throughout this story, and it obviously favoured Isabel. As we said, the location work is fantastic. Again, just shows what it was like when it went on to film, and the way it can be edited and put together. The whole thing is a masterclass in making something wonderful out of not very much. And it's everybody at the top of the game. I'm not going to give it a full 10 because I do think there is that little bit of padding in it, but it's a very, very strong 9 from me.
Wonderful. Emilio.
So I'm going to agree. George said a lot of my points. I'm going to agree. I would give it a 9 out of 10. I think it is Doctor Who at its best when it has a movie style idea on a cheap budget, basically. But I agree, Patrick Troughton, just a Doctor. He just, it just fits. The role fits him naturally like a glove does. I would say, I really like even small details of the fact that Vaughn's kind of office is all uniform, and
yes.
It all very much ties into like the Cybermen and the fact that they want to convert everyone just to be they want either convert people to just humans or they want to kill humans, but basically they don't want emotion. I think there's a really good parallels across the episode between him and the Cybermen. I would probably finish up by saying the thing to let it down. I would agree with George. Isabel feels like a kind of a character that's not necessarily needed, and more attention could have gone on Zoe. And I would say that whilst I at first I do agree that it probably would have been even better 6 parts. I do think 8 parts it does work fine. But yeah, there probably could have been some scenes in the early part, especially the first 2 or 3 episodes, that could have been cut and it would have just flowed even better. But yeah, these are really niggly things. So 9 out of 10 from me.
Fabulous. All right, lady of the chat, what are you going to give this?
I agree with my fellow esteemed boys at the Bluey that Patrick Troughton deserves all the chef's kiss in the world. Absolutely phenomenal. But definitely this could have been done in 6 parts. The padding was just a little smidge too much. But definitely a stunningly huge 9 out of 10 as well.
Wow. Big scores, everybody. All right, then, Paul, what are you going to give this one?
Well, I have to say, this is one of my favourite Troughton stories. This and The Web of Fear are stories that I absolutely adore. I love the fact that Unit's in this. I love the fact we've got Benton in this as well. And John Levine's very good in this for what he has to do, and I look forward to seeing him later in season 7.
Yeah.
But Troughton in this is superb. He's absolutely superb. And as George mentioned earlier on about the fact it's a game of 2 halves, you've got the espionage and the Cybermen. I think that works in its favour for me personally, because like the Inferno, when you have the parallel universe to kind of help give it new life to the story. So, and I have to disagree. I love long stories. And I think if we lost 2 episodes for this, we'd have less of Troughton and perhaps less of Kevin Stoney, which would be a shame. So I love this story. So it's 10 out of 10 for me, regardless of any faults they might have.
Wow. Brilliant scores, isn't it, for 1968 Doctor Who? I'm going to agree with absolutely everything you've all said. This is one of my favourite Troughton stories, and I think part of that is because I had to, obviously we had to wait so many years to see it, and I grew up with all those images, and I was so excited that Monday when I got my hands on the video. I'm going to get to see the Cybermen walking down St. Paul's, and it didn't disappoint. It was just so brilliant. I'm giving this a 10 as well, everybody, because I absolutely love it. So it gets a 10 out of me, a 10 from me. And it also does, let's get into the chat. John Roberts is saying definitely a 10 out of 10. Austin Woods, I give this episode a light 100. John has to be 10 out of 10. A superb story and well acted. Paul T. Thomas Ashworth, PTA, is saying 10. Fantastic. Thank you, PTA. Digby is saying to us, it's terrifying that the kids in those pics are now probably retired. Yeah, we'll gloss over on that one.
Just gloss over that,
yeah. Bill Lowry saying 10 out of 10, even with the 2 animated episodes, full marks as the animation works so well. Yeah. Richard Brooks is saying, how could it be any less than 10 out of 10 for this iconic story? Adrian is agreeing with all of us that Kevin Stoney was terrific. He just was. He's just classy in everything he does. What an actor. Graham, easiest 10 out of 10 ever. One of the very, very best. Austin is saying, don't remember the wilderness years? You're living in them. More of that coming up on this show. Stay with us. Make sure you've subscribed. Make sure you've liked. Make sure you've done all the things you know. Because, yeah, I'm saying
Wilderness Year Part 2. That's what we're going to call it.
The revenge.
This time it's personal.
Yes, exactly. Craig Dunlop,
this time it's worse.
It's a 10 out of 10 from Craig. Kevin Stoney and the Cybermen, what's not to like? Legion of James, 10 out of 10. Can't even mark it down for the animated missing episodes. It's that grace. Great. Paul Out of Rose is saying 9 out of 10. A classic serial with probably my favourite Cybermen design and the iconic St. Paul scene. Hello to the timescales. Doctor Who's mismanagement by becoming way too extreme, thus replacement of the management may very well be what saves it. More of that coming up on Who's Views on Sunday. Make sure you're joining us for headlines at 8 o'clock UK time. Adrian Sherlock is saying the invasion is a 10. Robin Calvert, 9 out of 10. Late 60s epic, completely iconic. The Cybermen on the steps of St. Paul's and Don Harper's music. Yeah, absolutely. 10 out of 10 from Mark Milford. Derek Carter saying 20 out of 10. That's cheating. John Mason, 9 out of 10. Great atmosphere and writing. I like seeing Unit looking all 60s. Yeah, they did. And Lex, thank you, Lex. 10 out of 10. Excellent story, suspense, action, and adventure. Excellent main villain, then changes his ways at the end. The Doctor was fantastic. Excellent, powerful scene at St. Paul's Cathedral too. 10 out of 10. Carmen is saying 9 out of 10. Has one or two small issues, but I still think it's great. I'm just thinking that St. Paul's thing would have been actually one of the first times that the monsters of Doctor Who were seen in that sort of location. Now, I know they've done it with the War Machines, but that was the first, wasn't it? The first iconic location visit for Doctor Who, apart from the Dalek invasion of Earth, which they are very different.
Yeah.
But this one's a bit more active.
Yeah. As I said before, the location shoot is so much more effective in the invasion than it is in the Dalek invasion of Earth.
Totally. Yeah, and because it acts, it's terrifying. That's the word.
Yeah, it gives the Cybermen a real sense of menace.
Yes, that's it. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you, George. SG is saying 9 out of 10. Amaray is saying 9 out of 10. Paul Stenterford, a great story which utilizes the Cybermen well. Amazing performances by the regular cast, Kevin Stoney, Peter Halliday, and Sally Faulkner. I cannot give this story less than 9.5 out of 10. Fabulous. Look at these marks, everybody. Jason Parker, 10 out of 10. The Brigadier, the Second Doctor, action-packed adventure, brilliant villain, good music, incredible Cybermen, and iconic scenes with a brilliant payoff. I'm always left wanting more stories like this. That's the thing, isn't it? You do. And you have to wait a few months until Pertwee turns up. What have we got here? Stephen, this is an easy 10 out of 10 for me. My favorite 60s Cyberman story, music, story, cast, Troughton and Stoney Steele, every scene they are in together. It's a Stoney cold classic. Oh, I see what you did there. Austin is saying to us, even the Cybermen who lost their invasion seem to love this adventure as they came back and did some nostalgia poses with Missy and 12. Yeah, they know their own history.
They managed to get the deposit back by renting out the factory to the Nestines as well, didn't they?
Yes, same location. The Guinness bottling plant, wasn't it?
It was. It's the same factory. Yeah. And we reviewed Spearhead. We said that, didn't we, on that? Dalek Eye, Doctor at its best, 9 out of 10. Troughton is a fantastic as the Doctor. Mark Milford, 10 out of 10. Yes, I voted again for Cybermen. Gilliam's with us. Hello there. God, I love the invasion. Sorry, I missed the start of the show, but I was playing cards. Back to Who invasion. Great, awesome, solid story. Only downside, I agree with George. It needs more Zoe. 9 out of 10. Thank you very much. Derek is saying he's going to go and watch it straight after we finished here, which is fantastic. Lee Patton, you're in for a long night. Lee Patton, 10 for me. This story is a favorite. It's the template for my personal favorite era, the Pertwee era. And yeah, absolutely fantastic. Stephen also saying to us, the invasion is so good, it could be a film right now, which is what he was saying earlier. And people would go and see it. Dalek Lives Matter, 9 out of 10. I could watch it all over again. Loses 1 for missing episodes. Otherwise, it would be a 10. Ooh, oh, bless. But still good score. Digby, great story, great acting, great direction. Maybe a bit too long for me. 9 or 9.5 out of 10 for the invasion for me. Fabulous. Thank you so much for that. 9 out of 10 from Raymond. It holds up 56 years later. The acting and production values are superb. Done on a shoestring budget. Troughton is superb as always. Isn't it, Does? What we've got here from Adrian. Adrian Sherlock saying the invasion uses a lot of radio drama techniques to imply a huge invasion and lots more action than we see. And the theatre thing where a bloke comes out and shouts hundreds of Cybermen about. Yeah. And you actually believe it. At least. Yeah.
But again, the way Douglas Camfield edits and directs it, you buy into it, and you're taken along with that.
Yeah. True, really true. Adrian has also given his mark on the score on the TARDIS store, and it's a 10 because its significance transcends all. Ooh, that's good. Julian, hello, Julian. 10 out of 10. This is a terrific story. I don't mind the 8 parts. For me, it sails along. I agree with you. Pat is fantastic in this, and it's one of my favorite proper Who stories. Mine too. We're on the same page, me and Julian. Yokai 63, great story, smashing performances and beautiful animation. Also, Isabel really should have been a full-time companion. She was clever, funny, and absolutely gorgeous. Most definitely a 10 out of 10. They should release a vinyl.
Is that for Isabel or the invasion? I'm not quite sure.
They should release a vinyl of the music because the music too is great. Well, it's SG, they have done, and it's now out of print. You never know, they might re-release it. Have a look around record fairs. You might find some. It might be there somewhere. I have noticed some Doctor Who things at these record fairs. Some of them are quite pricey. The Invasion vinyl is one of those. So
They give us a ballpark figure how expensive it may be, how many mortgages might it be?
Well, it depends how I think it's expensive to pay a vinyl for £150.
Oh, that's quite a lot. Yes,
but that's what I've seen it for, £150 in the wrapper new. So there you go. 10 out of 10 for proper considered sci-fi and horror, says Kess the Drone. 9.5 from Digby. Thank you. Isabel was beautiful, says Richard. Armour A is saying 10. Timescales is giving it a 10 as well. Thank you, mate. I can't knock it, says Farsight. It's classic Who at its best. 10. Oh, just amazing. It's amazing. Thank you so much. Any more in there? I hope the BBC are watching these scores, says Kess the Drone. Probably not. Probably. I think they've got a little bit more to do at the moment than watch us. 11 out of 10, says Armour A. The Cybermen are still down there, says Adrian Sherlock. Please don't give me nightmares. Honestly, that's quite scary, isn't it?
I don't think we've got a score less than 9. I haven't seen everyone give it a 9 and 10.
No. And that's the brilliant thing, Emilio, about this, because when you compare our scores for last year's rubbish, a lot of which were zeros, this was 1968.
It's not as good as Space Babies, though, is it? Let's be honest.
No.
1968, everybody, and it's more or less got a full house. Oh, look at this. I got to meet, says Stephen Braddock, Kevin Stoney and Peter Halliday at a convention in London, and they watched it with us and signed my Target book too.
Oh,
wow.
That's a lovely story. Thank you for that. I never got to meet either of them.
No, neither did I, but when I watched the DVD documentary, Peter Halliday and Kevin Stoney are on there, which is really nice. Yeah. And Paul Roses reminded me that the witch in Chorlton and the Wheelies was Fenella, the kettle witch. Of course she was. Oh, little old lady. She was a little green witch that was from Wales. And with a big dwarf on
dragon. Yeah. I loved her. She lived in a kettle, in a teapot or whatever it was. Go and watch it, everybody. It's just brilliant British kids stuff. You don't make it like that anymore. But thanks for that, Paul. I'm going to call it a day there, everybody, on the scores on the TARDIS doors. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad you've enjoyed that. That was part of our cyber series as we start to prepare for the Cybermen's 60th invasion next year in 2026. Whose Views is getting in there a little bit earlier. We've got lots more coming up, so stay with us as we go through all this. Lots of cyber chat coming for you over the next year as we celebrate their anniversary. And I hope this has been a bit of light relief over the madness that's going on over the last 48 hours in Doctor Who fandom. I hope it has indeed. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and make sure you are still subscribed. You can find us on Facebook on Whose Views. You can find us on Instagram with Whose Views as well. Kirsty's over there to take any messages from you, so that's great. Thank you for that, Kirst. Yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed tonight. You're feeling a little bit calmer.
I loved that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, brilliant.
It was great, wasn't it? And what a great series. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Our next scheduled show is Sunday, where we go back to what's happening with all the lunacy. 8 o'clock UK time here on Whose Views. Come and join us all for headlines. From Paul, from Kirsty, from Emilio, and from George, from myself and now. Thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Stay tuned. We've got lots coming up for you, including something a little bit special for you, we hope, next week that you're hopefully going to enjoy. So from all of us, see you later. Bye, everyone. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
And goodbye.